The City of Boston Zoning Board of Appeal hearing for February 8th is now in session. This hearing is being conducted in accordance with the applicable provisions of the open meeting law, including the provisions of an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency that was signed by Governor Baker on June 16th, 2021. This new law allows the board to continue its practice of holding virtual hearings that it adopted during the COVID-19 pandemic until April 1st, 2022. The hearing of this board is being held remotely via the WebEx event platform. In order to ensure this hearing of the board is open to the public, members of the public may access this hearing through telephone and video conferencing. Information for connecting to this hearing is listed on today's hearing agenda, which is posted on the public notices page of the city's website, boston.gov. Members of the public will enter the virtual hearing as attendees, which means you will not see yourself on the screen and you will be muted throughout unless administratively unmuted when asked to comment. As with our in-person meetings, comments in support will be followed by comments in opposition. The order of comments is as follows: elected officials, representatives of elected officials, and members of the public. The number of people called upon to offer comment and the time for commenting will be limited by the chair as time constraints require. For that reason, the board prefers to hear from members of the public who are most impacted by the project. That is, those individuals who live closest to the project. If you wish to comment on an appeal, please click the Raise Your Hand icon in the application via the WebEx event platform. To raise your hand, click the participant information icon. From there, find your name, and on the lower right-hand side, you should see a hand-raising icon. Click the icon and your hand will be raised virtually. Click it again and your hand should go down. If you are connected to the hearing by telephone, please press *3 to raise your hand. And I see that today we have a good number of people who are logged in via telephone. So let me just repeat that. If you are connected by telephone, press *3 to raise your hand. Those called upon to comment will be asked to state their name and address first, and then can provide their comment. In the interest of time and to ensure that you have enough time to do so, raise your hand as soon as Mr. Fortune reads the address into the record. Do not raise your hand before the relevant address is called, or the meeting host will not know to call on you at the appropriate time. And please put down your hand when you are done commenting so that we know that we have taken care of you. These instructions will be noted throughout the hearing. I will take a quick roll call. Mr. Fortune.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning. Mr. Ehrlich.
Here.
Good morning. Ms. Dong.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Mr. Ruggiero.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Mr. Robinson.
Good morning.
Good morning. And I understand that Mr. Ligris does not have power in his neck of the neighborhood.
He's here, Madam Chair.
I'm here, Madam Chair.
Here. Excellent. Okay, Mr. Ligris is on, so we have a full board. Mr. Hampton, are you on?
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning. Mr. Fortune?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first order of business is the approval of the hearing minutes of January 18th of 2022. I almost went back to 1922. 2022. Need a motion.
May I have a motion, please?
Motion approved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, just before we begin on the extensions, may I remind everybody that extensions are just not, and approvals are just not pocket approvals. We need to see some action before too much time passes. We've been noticing that there have been a number of approvals that have been given 14, 15 years ago, and that's just not what the board was created to do. So with that, let me turn that back over to you, Mr. Fortune. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first extension calling case BOA 771127 Allen Road. Name and address for the record, please. Mr. Goldstein on?
Don't say the name.
Okay, I'll come back to that one, Madam Ambassador. I'm going to call the next case, calling BOA 823-589-73 Rutland Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Timothy Burke. I have a business address of 142 Berkeley Street in Boston. I'm the architect for this project.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Regarding 73 Rutland Street, the board originally granted this relief on November 6th of 2018 and previously confirmed that the relief remains valid because of the tolling until February 11th of 2022. The applicant now requests a one-year extension until February 11th of 2023. This is the applicant's first extension request, and I recommend the board grant that extension if it finds the request appropriate.
May I have a motion?
Motion to extend for 1 year until February 11th, 2023, which would be inclusive of any and all applicable tolling.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 874-269-80 to 88 Wells Avenue. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Secretary, Madam Chair, Joseph Feaster from the law firm of McKenzie & Associates, 183 State Street in Boston.
Thank you, Mr. Feaster. Regarding 80 to 88 Wells Avenue, the board originally granted this relief on March 1st of 2019, and it granted its first extension of that relief until March 1st of 2022. However, the first extension was unnecessary. With tolling, the original granted relief does not expire until June 6th of 2022. The applicant seeks a further extension of the relief until March 1st of 2023, which would be the first necessary extension. I recommend that the board confirm for the record that the original granted relief remains valid until June 6th of 2022 and grant any further extension that it finds appropriate.
Yes, so thank you very much, Mr. Secretary.
Hold on, Mr. Feaster. Costa, can you please go ahead?
Sure. Do you want to hear from the applicant with respect to the extension?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion to confirm that relief is valid through June 6th, 2022.
Second.
And are we granting the extension until March 1st, 23? Costa,
Is that a question? I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
that's a statement.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay. So motion to extend relief through March 1st, 2023, which would be including any and all applicable tolling.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set, Mr. Feaster.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 450-351-1181 to 1183 Bennington Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston, on behalf of the petitioner.
Thank you, Mr. Lins. Regarding 1181-1183 Bennington Street, the board originally granted this relief on March 25th of 2016. The board granted a second extension of relief on March 25th of 2020. With tolling, that relief expired on June 30th of 2021. The board has not heard this matter since the relief was not subject to tolling expired. The board did, however, grant a third and fourth extension to this project. The fourth extension is set to expire on March 25th of 2022. I recommend that the board confirm for the record that its grant of a fourth extension until March 25th of 2022 included all applicable tolling for this project. However, because the applicant made its third and fourth request for extension during that time, when the relief should have been tolled, neither extension was necessary. I further recommend that the board grant any additional extension that it deems appropriate under these circumstances, taking into consideration that this would be the applicant's third extension rather than its fifth.
May I have a motion, please?
Motion to confirm that relief was valid through March 25th, 2022, inclusive of all tolling.
And that we make the extension until March 25th, 23?
And that a further extension, inclusive of all tolling, is hereby granted through March 25th of 2023.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Lins, just a heads up, this inclusive of all processes, this has been in the works for 7 years. So we hope that we will not see this again and that it will be in construction.
Madam Chair, if I could just, for the record, for clarity, I do appreciate the board's position on extensions and certainly appreciate the board's granting the additional extension. You know, as typically when I'm before the board, these are not the case for this length of time. There are extenuating circumstances with this particular application, including matters of seizure by the federal government on the property for the prior owner that we needed to work through before we could proceed. So that has all been resolved. There is also a taking by the Boston Planning and Development Agency with a land transfer for parcel that's owned by the city of Boston that has also taken additional time. That is all being completed, and we're hopeful to get moving before the expiration of the next extension.
Thank you.
Calling next extension, calling DOA 839-661, 100 to 114 Hampton Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston, on behalf of the petitioner.
Thank you, Mr. Lins. Regarding 100 to 114 Hampden Street, the board originally granted this relief on March 1st of 2019, and it granted its first extension until March 1st of 2022. However, that extension was unnecessary. With tolling, the original grant of relief does not expire until June 6th of 2022. The applicant now also requests an additional extension until March 1st of 2023, which would be their first necessary extension. I recommend that the board confirm for the record the original grant of relief remains valid until June 6th of 2022 and grant any further extension that it finds appropriate.
Motion to confirm that the original relief is valid through June 6, 2022, and further extend the relief through March 1st, 2023, inclusive of any and all tolling.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Calling the next case, calling DOA 911-272, 9 Chelsea Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston, on behalf of the petitioner.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. Regarding 9 Chelsea Street, the board originally granted this relief on March 29th of 2019 and granted its first extension until March 29th of 2022. However, that extension was unnecessary. With tolling, the original grant of relief does not expire until July 4th of 2022. The applicant now also requests an additional extension until March 29th of 2023, which would be their first necessary extension. I recommend that the board confirm for the record that the original grant of relief remains valid until June 4th of 2022 and grant any further extension that it finds appropriate.
I'm sorry, is that June 4th?
Yeah, it looks like we're from July 4th to June 4th. It should have been July 4th, sorry. Just an error on that part.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
Motion to confirm that relief, inclusive of all tolling, remains valid until July 4th of 2022, and hereby extending relief through March 29th, 2023, which is inclusive of any and all applicable tolling.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ligris, but I think the extension is July 4th, 23.
No, it's March 29th, Madam Chair,
It's
2020.
it's March 29th, okay?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, is there a second?
Second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Calling the next case, calling DOA 101-590-5296 Columbus Avenue. Name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Jeremy Cole, 296 Columbus Ave. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Regarding 296 Columbus Avenue, the board originally granted this relief on February 7th of 2020, so this is the applicant's first request for extension. However, the relief remains valid. With tolling, the original granted relief does not expire until May 15th of 2023. I recommend that the board confirm for the record that the relief remains valid until that date and that the applicant may return then to request their first extension if necessary.
Motion to confirm that relief remains valid with all applicable tolling through May 15th, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Calling the next two cases. Calling VOA 791-775-1208D VFW Parkway. There is a companion case VOA 791-768-1208C VFW Parkway. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Don Weiss, 745 Atlantic Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Regarding 1208D and 1208C VFW Parkway, the board originally granted relief for these companion cases on March 30th of 2018, and it has since granted its first and second extensions of relief. However, neither extension was necessary. With tolling, the original granted relief expired on July 5th, 2021. However, the board has not heard this matter since the expiration of that relief. The board did, however, grant the extension of relief to this applicant as of January 12, 2021, hearing until March 30th of 2022. I recommend that the board confirm for the record that the extension is granted until March 30th of 2022, included all applicable tolling. The applicant now also seeks an additional extension until March 30th of 2023, which would be their second necessary extension. I recommend that the board grant that extension if they find it request appropriate, taking into account that this is the applicant's second rather than its third request for extension.
Motion to confirm that relief with all applicable tolling is valid through March 30th, 2022, and that an extension of relief is granted through March 30th, 2023, which would be inclusive of any and all applicable tolling.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Madam Chair, I'm going to go back to the first case I called earlier. Is Mr. Goldstein on for 3 Allen Road? Or someone representing 3 Allen Road? Madam Chair, would you like me to call it into the record?
Yes, let's do that, and please have somebody inform Mr. Goldstein about what's happened at this meeting.
Okay, Madam Chair, calling case BOA 771-127 3 Allen Road. The board originally granted this relief in February of 2018 and granted its first extension of relief until February 16th of 2021. It granted a second extension on February 16th, 2022. If granted, February 22. However, the second extension was unnecessary. I don't think that date's right, Madam Chair. It should be February 21. With tolling, the first extension remains valid until May 24th of 2022. The applicant also seeks an additional extension until February 16th of 2023, which would be their second necessary extension. I recommend that the board confirm for the record that the first extension remains valid until May 24th of 2022 and grant any further extension that it finds appropriate.
Motion to confirm that relief remains valid, including all tolling through May 24th, 2022, and a further extension with relief is granted through February 16th, 2023, which will be inclusive of any and all applicable tolling.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'm going to call the 9:30 hearings for any deferrals or withdrawals. If you could give me the address first, please. Are there any deferrals or withdrawals for 9:30? Madam Chair, we do have one case I'm going to call for the record. We also have a date for it. Calling BOA 128094836 to 46 Main Street is being deferred to March 8th at 9:30.
May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion for deferral.
Is there a
Well-
second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And that date is March 8th at 9:30.
Okay,
Calling the first case for 9:30, calling VOA 125-3062-191 Main Street. This is to erect a new attached 4-story mixed-use building with 1 retail, 6 residential units, and rear decks on 2,291 square foot lot. The violation is Article 62, Section 62-27, screening and buffering required. Article 62, Section 62-29, off-street parking, insufficient parking. Article 62, Section 14, excessive FAR. Article 62, Section 14, the maximum allowed height has been exceeded. Article 62, Section 14, insufficient open space per unit. Article 62, Section 14, insufficient rear yard setback. And Article 62, Section 14, insufficient front yard setback and street wall continuity. Name and address for the record, please. Is Mr. Chan on?
Mr. Chair, I don't see Mr. Chan on. I didn't have him check in earlier, so I'm not sure who's representing this.
This is George Moranci. I'm sorry, I had myself muted. I apologize. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is George Moranci. I'm an attorney with the business address of 350 West Broadway in South Boston. I represent Sing-Ming Chan, the owner of the property at 191 Main Street in Charlestown, which is a single-story commercial building located in an NS neighborhood shopping sub-district. The proposal is for a new 4-story building, which would have a ground floor retail store with 6 residential units above. The unit sizes would be as follows. The commercial space, 894 square feet at ground level. Units 1 and 3 would be 888 square foot 2 bedrooms. Units 2 and 4 would be 597 square foot studio/1 bedrooms. Unit 5 would be an 896 square foot 2 bedroom. And unit 6 would be a 600 square foot studio/1 bedroom. The floor plans show on the ground level the retail unit with a basement used for storage only, as well as utilities and mechanical room. The main entrance to the retail unit is from Main Street, with the residential entrance to the right of that. In the rear of the first floor would be the building's mail and package lobby, with the landscape rear yard in the back providing approximately 500 square feet of open space. Each of the 3 floors above would contain 2 units. On the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors, as I said, there would be 1 2-bedroom unit and 2 1-bedroom units. So the total bedroom count for the building would be 9. The building's height would be 41 feet, which is one of the items for which zoning relief would be needed. The maximum zoning height here is 35 feet.
I'm sorry,
The other
sorry, Mr. Moranci, what's the building height proposed?
41 feet, Madam Chair.
Okay,
And the other variance is required for insufficient parking, since none is being provided given the size of the lot. The site is within an approximate 7-minute walking distance from Community College T Station. A variance is required for excessive floor area ratio. 2.0 is allowed, 3.15 is being proposed. The required rear yard setback being provided, required is 17.45 feet, shallow lot exception. The building would actually have a rear setback in excess of that at 20 feet, but the rear decks are within that setback area, hence the citation for insufficient rear yard setback. The zoning refusal letter cites a violation of insufficient usable open space, but this is an error. Code requires 50 square feet per dwelling unit for a total requirement here of 300 square feet. As I mentioned, the landscape rear yard by itself is 500 square feet. In addition, each unit would have an 8-foot by 12-foot rear deck, providing an additional 96 square feet of open space per unit. The building meets the front yard setback requirement, which is to say that it would be in alignment with existing buildings on the block. The reason for the citation is that the plans examiner regards the small overhang above the residential entry to be within that front setback area. There would be no roof decks on the building. With that, I'll pause and take any questions that members may have.
Mr. Moranci, is this an elevator building? In other words, how are you accommodating your handicapped unit?
Looking at the plan set, Madam Chair, there is a lift in the rear that provides access from the ground floor level up to the, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I believe there's no requirement, Madam Chair. I did inquire of the architect about that, and I believe it's compliant in a mixed-use building. I'll check my notes on that, but I'm pretty sure I did inquire about that.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Robinson?
So the plans are good. I did have the same question. A lift is actually called out on the ground floor plan, but it doesn't seem to extend to the second floor, or there's a bathroom there. So obviously I think that needs to be verified. And I think that the height is above zoning. However, I do think, that street has a variety of 4s and 3s and 1s. So it has sort of a little bit of a contextual to it as well. So no questions for me on the proposed scope other than those things.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support or in opposition to this proposal?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Keaton Stapleton with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Our office held an abutters meeting for this project on December 13th. Our office has received both support and opposition for this project. I've received 5 letters of opposition with 18 total signatures. Most opposition is in relation to the height of the building, parking, and privacy, but I've also received 44 signatures of support. At this time, I'd like to defer to the board. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Michael Benetti from the Office of Boston City Councilor Lydia Edwards. The council would like to go on record in support of this project. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Secretary here, I have 2 letters of opposition. I have nothing else.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have no raised hands at the moment.
Okay, given that information, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the BPA design review and no building code relief for accessibility.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion, Ligris.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 124-6745, 1170 William T. Morrissey Boulevard. This is a change of use to include a delivery operated cannabis delivery establishment. The violation is Article 65, Section 15. The use is conditional cannabis establishment. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Leslie Delaney Hawkins, attorney with the applicant from Prince Lobel, having an address of 1 International Place in Boston. With me is Gabe Vieira, who is the owner and operator of the applicant entity, as well as Matt O'Boyle, the architect. Should it please the board, I will give a brief overview of what we're proposing, and then, of course, we're here to answer any questions you have. So this is a proposal, and this is the first time that one of the delivery cannabis licenses has been before the Zoning Board of Appeals, as you are aware. So this is the first of the 2 new license types that are included in this. The applicant is a certified Boston equity applicant who's also been certified as social equity by the state. The regulations at the state level that were promulgated to create these delivery license types actually require that for the first 3 years, these licenses are limited to social equity and economic empowerment only. There are 2 components to this proposal. The first floor will serve as the deliver operator or warehouse model. This allows the applicant to obtain cannabis directly from manufacturers.
Counselor,
yes.
Hold on, please. Mr. Ambassador, can you mute everybody, please? We're having a hard time hearing the applicant. Okay, please go ahead now.
No worries, thank you. So the first floor will be what's called the warehousing model, and there are actually 2 distinct licenses from the CCC. This allows the applicant to obtain cannabis directly from a manufacturer, store the same in the secured area shown on the plans, and then deliver the same directly to consumers. Employees for that area will enter and access the building on the door shown on the far right side of your plans.
Hold on. Can you tell us which plan we should be looking at?
So there are 2 floors. So for this purpose, and I know Matt O'Boyle's on the phone, our architect as well, I would look at page 3 of the plans.
Yes, sheet A100.
So this is the portion that's going to be for the warehouse use. On the far right of the plans, you can see the area in which employees will enter and the secure vestibule to ensure that they have, that anyone accessing the space actually should legally have access. At the top.
Sorry, Ms. Edwards. I think the plan is A100. Is that what you had said?
Yes, that will show the plan in more clarity. The sheet you were on is the code review / egress plan.
Okay. Okay, sorry, please go ahead.
No, no worries.
This is the demolition sheet. You want to go down a few more sheets? Sorry.
Two more down.
I was to say, so is it page 3 or?
There you go, right there. That's the plan. Yep.
All right, thank you, Matt. So again, the far right, this is where our employees for the warehouse use will enter and exit into the secure vestibule where they'll be ID'd. The top to your left, you can see the secure delivery door. That's where deliveries of product will be taken, and then they'll be brought into the secure areas for breakdown and storage. So that's the warehousing use. The second floor will serve as the delivery only operator or courier model. And what that essentially is it's almost Uber Eats for cannabis. So the vehicles will be dispatched from the office located on the second floor, and they will pick up product from licensed recreational and medical dispensaries and deliver directly to consumers at their address. You cannot have any deliveries outside of an address or to a business. Those employees will enter and exit via the stairway and door at the far left of the plans. Delivery will take place daily from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. in 2-hour increments to minimize the amount of traffic in and out of the site. We anticipate a total of 10 delivery vehicles, approximately 4 of which will actually not be stored on site because they will be for the courier use only, and 6 will be stored on site in the existing fenced-in parking lot for the warehousing use. There is not going to be any public-facing or retail component. This is strictly delivery, so the general public will never have access to this space.
And how many staff are you anticipating being on site?
We anticipate approximately 30 employees, a combination of full-time and part-time.
And tell us about your security measures.
So this will be a fully alarmed and secure building. It will adhere to all CCC compliance. We will have exterior lighting that will be activated at all times. We will also have 10 internal cameras and 8 external cameras. And of course, the City of Boston and the state will have access to that footage, which will be stored for a period of 90 days.
And has this been approved by the Cannabis Commission?
Yes, it has. With this, the applicant has appeared at 2 separate hearings before the BCB because the 2 license types were actually promulgated by the state at 2 separate times. So we've actually been going through this process for a significant amount of time. And I believe the BCB submitted a letter of support. Councillor Baker submitted a letter of non-opposition.
Hold on, we'll hear from that from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services and from the City Council, but we need to find understand the technical details from you. Can we go to the site plan to see how parking will be stored on site? Tell us which drawing we should be looking at.
Matt, which drawing would you suggest?
That would be the first sheet.
So our staff and employees will access the site via one of the 2 existing curb cuts. We also will not be allowing our staff to utilize the adjacent residential streets. That was one of the conversations we had with the neighbors, and because of the extensive security and surveillance, we'll be able to monitor that, and we will be implementing a demerit system for any employees who do utilize those residential streets.
Okay, so are there any curb cuts on the residential streets, or is every access through Morrissey Boulevard?
There are no curb cuts on the residential street.
Okay, are you proposing any screening and buffering to the property or any signage?
There is an existing fence which we will be maintaining and repairing, and there is an existing billboard which is not our property and we will not be utilizing. All signage will be in compliance with all of the BCB regulations as well as the CCC regulations.
There are photos on sheet 4 of the existing conditions that will be restored to new condition.
So, I'm sorry, what sheet is it that shows the signage?
The signage is not shown. It's the fencing that's shown on sheet 4, photos of the existing site.
Okay, and what does the state requirement on signage? Is my understanding correct, is that you cannot show a cannabis leaf?
Correct. There can be no slang and there can be no images. There can also be nothing that would be appealing to anyone under the age of 21.
Okay, so then I guess the next question is how, because we know how people's ages, etc., will be verified, you know, on site. How are you going to do that through delivery?
Absolutely. The state also has very strict requirements regarding the delivery itself. And I know Gabe Vieira, who is the actual applicant. Gabe, do you want to briefly touch on the process for identifying once you're delivering directly to consumers?
Of course. So our company built a tech platform, ziprun.com, which you could look up. We integrated with a company called Burbex. Burbex is a ID verification checker. So before any consumer can receive a delivery, they have to upload their ID via our integration with Burbex to ensure they're 21 plus. And then once our driver gets to our consumer's doorstep, they check the ID once again. So we're double checking the IDs to ensure these consumers are over 21 years of age.
And there are also tracking mechanisms on all of the vehicles, and at least one of the delivery employees, there are always 2 in a vehicle, and they're constantly being reported via the reporting system that's required by the state.
And is there a lockbox in each vehicle?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Robinson?
The plans are fine in terms of the proposed scope. I do think that, you know, this is a very prominent site. I have a lot of familiarity with it, so I think we need to make sure that the site receives a little bit of care. It's been in sort of a state of disrepair for many years. I do have a question, which maybe is not at hand, but on the billboard itself. So when I was working on the site previously with the Sozio owners, they told me that the billboard was, I don't know the terminology, but local to the business directly at hand. It is not a public and a private billboard. So how is that going to remain and not used by you as the operator of the site?
In our lease agreement, we have no legal right to the billboard. We're not proposing to use it. That has not been a discussion with the landlord.
So does that mean the billboard will be removed because Sozio is no longer on site?
Gabe, do you want to speak to your conversations with the landlord?
Yes. So the landlord didn't make a decision to remove the billboard, but as of right now, like Leslie stated, there is nothing in our agreement that states we're able to use that billboard. Currently, you're correct, it is an on-premises billboard. Just at this time, we kind of decided with the neighbors that we're not going to use the billboard on-premise.
And to note, the billboard is structurally integrated with the addition to the existing building.
Okay.
Okay, I think we can deal with that, Mr. Robinson, through a proviso.
I think just we need a real BPDA review on both the exterior upgrades and the screening and buffering, and I don't think just repairing the old chain link fence is gonna do it. So I think we need to make sure we take care of that, Mr. Hampton.
Yes, any questions from the board?
Yeah, I have some questions. I believe this is the first delivery establishment that's come before us, so it raises a whole host of questions. What happens if the driver goes out and there's nobody home?
They have to return the product to the site, or if it's the courier only license, then they have to return it to the actual recreational or medical dispensary.
And are the drivers employees of the firm, or are they one of these, shall we say, less?
Yes.
They're direct employees. You're not using a service, like I won't mention their names.
Correct. They are direct employees, and the vehicles are also, the drivers cannot use their own vehicles. The vehicles are also owned by Ziprun.
Okay, I'm very glad to hear that. Is that part of the requirement for delivery establishments?
Yes, it is.
Good. That's a good move. All right, thank you.
And will the vehicles have any signage in them? In other words, will the drivers be at risk through the signage?
No, there will be no signage on the vehicles that would indicate that there is cannabis within the vehicle.
Okay. And we just...
Are there, just on the vehicles real quick, are there requirements to keep the vehicles updated or just any vehicle that works?
The CCC conducts an inspection of all of the vehicles as well as the site, and we have an annual renewal process that we must go through as well. So they do monitor them, and obviously we'll be, as one of the first delivery operators in the Commonwealth, we'll be updating and adhering to the rules and regulations as they may change.
Is there a limit on the amount of vehicles that you can have going in and out? Like how many couriers you can have going at once, or?
There is not a limit on the specific amount, but we are limiting it to 10 vehicles, and they'll be in 2-hour increments. So they'll go out for a delivery, and they'll do a series of staff deliveries within that 2 hours, so they're not coming back and forth to create additional traffic.
And what is the catchment area for the deliveries? How far do you go from the base?
Gabe, how far are you proposing to deliver?
As of right now, we're starting with the 10-mile radius, and we don't really plan to extend that past 15. We want to keep our delivery focus on the greater Boston region.
And is that also something that's in the regulations, or is that just your decision?
That's just our decision.
Are there any regulations at all about distance?
No.
There are no regulations on distance. However, you can only deliver to municipalities that allow for cannabis. So if you are one of the municipalities who opted out of the legalization,
Okay, is anybody here to speak either in support or in opposition? Let's get elected officials and representatives of elected officials on the record first.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. George Wynn from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Our office hosted a public community meeting on September 27, 2021. Abutters expressed concerns regarding security, influx of traffic, and the potential for the facility to one day house a retail site. However, the applicant stated on the record that they would sign an agreement with the Port Norfolk Civic Association not to apply for a retail license at this location. We ask that the equity applicant continue working with the community to resolve any outstanding issues with aesthetic and maintenance. They have addressed all the questions they received, and the Boston Cannabis Board voted unanimously to grant the license. So at this time, our office would like to defer to the judgment of the board. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, sorry, Secretary here. We have a couple letters of support.
Hey, Madam Chair, I do have one raised hand. Richard O'Brien, are you looking to give testimony on this project? I sent a request to unmute you.
To let you know, I'm a longtime resident of the Popes Hill.
Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Richard O'Brien, address 10 Ainsley Street, Dorchester, Mass. Longtime member of the Popes Hill area community. And I just wanted to add my voice of support for Zip Run and their planned distribution. And I also just wanted to make note that we've had alcohol delivery for a long time in our neighborhood and have not had any issues. The ID checking system seems to work well, so.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I have no, let me just double refresh it. I have no additional raised hands.
And no representatives of elected officials are going to speak on this other than the mayor's office. Okay, given that...
Madam Chair, we did have a letter from Councilor Baker.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve with BPDA design review with particular attention to screening and buffering, the billboard, if there's anything they can do with that, and upgrade to the side of the building, windows, things like that.
And for this applicant only?
For this applicant only.
Okay.
I'll second, Eric.
And we just want to make sure that the applicant, the owner, and the BPDA understands that we are also very concerned about that billboard. And if it's not going to be in use, we anticipate that it will come down. So there's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Calling the next case, calling VOA 127-6087, 119 St. Paul Street. This is new windows, restoration of exterior, including brick, repointing and repair new roof, addition of decks off the back facing alleyway, and expansion of head house by roughly 390 square feet, and a private deck for penthouse on unit off of the head house. The violation, Article 41, Section 18.4, rear yards insufficient. Article 41, Section 5, the building height is excessive on St. Paul Street protection area. Article 41, Section 5, the floor area ratio on St. Paul Street. Article 41, Section 6, the proposed roof structure addition. Name and address for the record, please.
Greg McCarthy for 119 St. Paul Street.
Tell us what's being proposed.
Sure, thanks for having me. So 119 St. Paul is an existing four-story, four-unit building. We are proposing to add rear decks. We're proposing to extend the head house to make a penthouse addition for the top floor unit, which would be roughly 450 square feet. And we are also proposing exterior alterations to the front of the building and the rear of the building. We had a pretty lengthy...
Can you hold on? Can you talk to us about that head house?
Sure.
What is the size of the current head house?
Yep, the current head house is a typical head house. It's probably about 70 square feet. We are extending it to make a full master bedroom up there. Do I have control of these plans right now?
No.
Is it possible to go up one more page? So here's the layout of the penthouse level. So this square right here, coming up the stairs, is where the existing head house is. We had to make several changes.
So tell us what is that thing that's labeled loft? What is that?
That's just the existing, I have my architect on here as well. I forget what it's called. It's the dome on top of the building.
Okay, so it's not habitable, it's just...
It's just an existing, they're all along St. Paul Street.
Okay, got it. So hold on a minute. How are the plans, Mr. Robinson?
Plans are good, no question. I think the rear decks are encroaching on an area that can handle, it's really a public alleyway that behind with a very large building that fronts the other side. And I think the addition, which I think is more of a floor, but is pulled back quite a bit from the street, and it is hidden behind this sort of turret thing and there is no roof deck toward the main street side. So I don't have any specific questions about the proposed scope.
Any questions from the board?
This is not really a roof deck, is it? I mean, this is another floor.
It feels like another story is what I believe.
Yeah,
is what it really is.
How does that mesh with the other neighboring abutting buildings?
So most of them don't have any additional floor. They do have head houses of various size down the block. So this would be, I think, the first of a larger size. There's one down a little bit closer to the corner of, I don't remember what, Cumberland maybe. It's probably similar in size and pulled back as well, but the rest are more traditional roof head houses of various sizes along the way. So there's some precedent on this side of the street, but it does step up to 12, 14-story building that on the backside. So there's a lot of scale behind it.
This is a question for the applicant. Is this in the architectural district?
Yes, it is.
And have you had started any conversations with the staff there on that?
Yeah, we actually had a very long process with them. They were willing to meet with us before we made our design, so we could get some input, mostly on what we'd be able to, somewhat on what we'd be able to do, but also, part of the attraction down there on St. Pataf Street, a lot of the buildings have been brought back to their original details.
Mhm.
So they were able to give us all kinds of input on what we could do to make it look like the buildings next door.
Thank you. Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Sure, go ahead, sir.
Any other questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support or in opposition?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Molly Griffin from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Our office hosted an abutters meeting on December 13th, 2021. The applicant addressed concerns and answered questions from immediate abutters who attended that meeting. At this time, our office would like to defer to the board's judgment. Thank you.
And Ms. Madam Chair, I have no raised hands at the moment.
Given that fact, may I have a motion, please?
Sorry, but we also have a letter of support from the Architectural Commission.
Hold on. Can you hold on, please? This board is in conversation here.
Oh, sorry.
May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Calling the next case, calling VOA 126-4048, 92 to 100 Massachusetts Avenue. This is renovation of an existing space. Secondary address is 361 Newbury, the former Boston Sports Club. This is a fitness center health club to operate 24/7. Violations Article 8, Section 3. The 24-hour operation is conditional. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Chase Villafana. I am the Director of Development for Planet Fitness, and my address is 1815 Massachusetts Avenue in Cambridge. I'm here today, and we're proposing to take over the previously operating Boston Sports Club and perform minor interior alterations to the cellar and sub-cellar spaces which the former Boston Sports Club occupied. The storefront area on grade will be utilized for entrance and exit only to access the cellar space where the gym will be located.
Mr. Villafama, the reason you're here is that the 24 hours is conditional use. So tell us about your 24-hour proposed operation. Tell us about the anticipated numbers of people you anticipate coming off hours and how you control for security during those midnight to, 4 in the morning or something like that.
Of course, Madam Chair. Our staff is trained in management disciplines for overnight hour operating. We have intelligent camera systems within the store and on the exterior of the building. The total number of cameras for this location specifically is 23, and we utilize a 90-day backup HDR hard drive. During the overnight hours, we have between anywhere from 15 to 30 members that come to utilize our gym during the overnight hours. And the reason we request specifically to operate 24 hours is based on our company ethos, which is diversity and inclusion for all members of the community.
Okay, so tell us how many other Planet Fitnesses within the city of Boston are 24 hours?
We have 4. The closest ones to this location, which would be our Winter Street location.
And which other ones?
Dorchester, Jamaica Plains, Hyde Park. There's a few others at the top of my head.
They're all 24 hours?
Yes, they are, Madam Chair.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Robinson?
Plans are good, no question. I guess I had one question on access. So the access to this will be through the common building entrance, is that correct? And then the
we
space itself is in the lower level?
That's correct. Yeah, as I mentioned previously, our space is in the cellar and the subcellar. The storefront entrance on Massachusetts Avenue is solely ours, but it's an entrance and exit only. There'd be no operating on the ground level. So all operations will take place in the cellar and subcellar.
Okay. No, that was my only question. No other questions about the scope. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any questions from the board? You know, the thing that strikes me is that this location is very close to, BU. And I just want to make sure that you guys explain to us what the system is for controlling for students or others who may be inebriated at odd hours.
So they have to come, right, if you're on Massachusetts Avenue, you have to enter into the building via, obviously, the storefront. The storefront is about 5 by 5. For you to access into the space, you'd have to come down the stairs and you have to physically walk past our front desk, which we always have staffed 24 hours a day. So at that point, if someone came inebriated into our gym, we'd obviously know that they weren't a member and or inebriated. So at that point, I would venture to guess that we'd probably ask them to leave for that instance.
Okay. Is any other questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak either in support or in opposition of this proposal?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Molly Griffin from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. At this time, our office would like to defer to the board's judgment on this proposal. We did host an abutters meeting on December 16th, 2021. The applicants addressed concerns or questions from neighboring people, businesses. At this time, I have received no letters of support or opposition, so we'd like to defer. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Chair, I do have one raised hand. Start with Conrad. I sent a request to unmute you. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
439 Marlborough Street, representing the Neighborhood Association of Back Bay. The applicant presented their case to us, and NAB does not oppose this application.
Thank you. Just circle back. I have no additional raised hands at the moment.
Madam Chair, may I? Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Minor Perez with the Carpenters Union. Carpenters Union would greatly appreciate it to defer this petition. Thank you.
Okay. Is the was his name Conrad Armstrong? Is he still on? Actually, yes. Can you tell us what other 24-hour uses there are in the neighborhood? Around this node? Ms. Ambassador, can you unmute him, please?
Sure. I'm sorry. For Conrad, yep. Second.
There we go. I wasn't able to unmute myself. We asked about the 24 operation. It impressed us that they have other locations, especially like on Winter Street, that's had 0 incidents. It's been open 24 hours. There aren't other gyms in Back Bay that are open 24 hours, but there's some other businesses like 7-Elevens or CVS's that don't seem to, or we think they'll be more likely to maybe attract homeless late night incidents, and yet don't seem to have big problems. So we did ask about security. Let's say the kind of question you asked, and they allayed our concerns.
Okay, thank you. Okay, given that information, and remember this is a request for a conditional use permit. May I have a motion and any conditions that you think might be appropriate?
Madam Chair, just curious, could we have them come back in like a year?
Yep, that is because I know we need to just ensure, so
Yep.
yes, make a motion.
Okay, so I'd like a motion to approve with two provisos, for this applicant only, and a provision to come back in a year, just to give us an update, and make sure there's no issues.
I'll second that, Eric.
Is there, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 126-0064, 84 to 84H Berkeley Street. This is a replacement roof deck. The violations, Article 64, Section 34, roof structure restrictions. Name and address for the record, please.
Dan Kasmarek, 84 Berkeley Street. I am here on behalf of the applicant, Matthew Palmer, who is the contractor for the project. Frank Corsino is the owner at 84 Berkeley, and he's also on as an attendee.
So tell us what you're proposing to do.
We are proposing to rebuild a roof deck at this address. The previous deck that was in place was haphazardly built and has been since removed for obvious reasons. We are building back the roof deck only and keeping the existing head house that maintains access to the roof. And on this page,
Sorry, because this is before us, was that, because usually replacements aren't before us, was that roof deck legal or was it not legal? And secondly, are you expanding the footprint of that roof deck?
the roof deck footprint is expanded. However, it's entirely within the ordinance requirements for a roof deck in terms of height and distance from rear edge.
Okay, give us the dimensions of that roof deck, please.
So, I don't know if they're on that drawing, but I can.
While you're looking for that, Mr. Robinson, how are the plans?
Plans are good. There is the previous roof deck, which is still on Google Earth, is there. It was smaller and pushed further to the back. There is an adjacent roof deck that seems to be aligning with what they're proposing in terms of its front and rear setback from the streets and consistent with the adjacent. And the existing head house is remaining. So no questions necessary for me on the scope.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak either in support or in opposition of this proposal?
Hi, yes. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Kim Crusilli from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Our office held a community meeting on January 4th where no opposition was shown by the abutters. The Alice Neighborhood Association is also not opposed to the proposal. At this time, we'd like to defer to the board on this matter. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ana Calderon from Councilor Flynn's office. The councilor would like to go on record in support. We heard no concerns from the Neighborhood Association or abutters. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Secretary here, we have one letter of opposition.
Is there a reason for the opposition?
It's 86 Berkeley Street and Mrs. Wong. She is opposed to it because she wasn't notified.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Ambassador, anybody else?
Madam Chair, I have no raised hands at the moment.
May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Madam Chair, we only have 3 cases for 10:30, but it's now 10:34. I'm going to ask if there's somebody on for 10:30, if they're deferring or withdrawing. Just give me the address. Okay, Madam Chair, we'll go to the next case. Next 2 cases. Following case BOA 124-3750, 4 Ashmont Park. There is a companion case, BOA 126-0586, 6 Ashmont Park. This is for 4 Ashmont Park, erecting new 4-story building with 4 units, front and rear decks, and 4 parking spots at the rear. The easement proposed for the driveway and 1 additional parking space. The violations, Article 65, Section 8, the MFR in a 3FD zone. Article 65, Section 65-41, off-street loading. Article 65, Section 42.2, the conforming with existing building alignment. Article 65, Section 9, the additional lot area is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the floor to area ratio is excessive. Article 65, Section 9, the building height is excessive in stories. Article 65, Section 9, the usable open space is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the building has excessive in feet. And Article 65, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. This is for 6 Ashmont. This is erect a new 4-story building with 4 units and rear decks and 5 parking spaces at the rear of the building. An easement proposed driveway. The violation is a little bit different, so I'm going to call it for the record. The violation is Article 65, Section 65-41.5, that the parking size and maneuverability. Article 65, Section 8, the MF and the three family. Article 65, Section 42.2, conforming with existing building alignment. Article 65, Section 9, the additional lot area is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the floor area ratio is excessive. Article 65, Section 9, the building has excessive in stories. Article 65, Section 9, usable open space is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the building has excessive in feet. And Article 65, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney John Fulgini, 10 Forbes Road in Braintree. I'm joined this morning with Eric Zackerson, who is the team architect.
Fulgini, before you proceed, have you seen the BPDA's recommendation?
I have not, Madam Chair.
It's a recommendation for denial because of the density and a number of related issues. Open space, excessive building height, a lot of, the fact that it does not reflect the triple-decker building typology, which is what a 3FD means. So it seems like they have a serious number of concerns on this one. So I guess the question for you is, do you want to proceed with this or request a deferral?
I think at this point, I didn't understand, I didn't see that. So at this point, we'd request a deferral to meet with the BPDA staff and see if we can resolve some of those issues.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to defer.
I'll second that motion, Ligris.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The date, please.
We're going to do March 22nd at 11:30.
Thank you.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 125-1716, 88 Rockview Street. This is a new single-family home. The violations, Article 55, Section 9. Floor area ratio is excessive. Article 55, Section 9, the building has excessive in feet. Article 55, Section 9, the building has excessive in stories. Article 55, Section 9, front yard is insufficient. And Article 55, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, this is Abby Wojtowicz and Joe Charest. We currently live at 85 Rockview Street, Unit 1, in Jamaica Plain, and we are the owners of the lot. We also have Chris Fuller from Helios, which is our architectural firm, on the line as a panelist.
So let me just ask, was this addressed before the Board of Appeal in the past?
No.
No, this is, you've checked the record that there is no proposal like we had seen for this address. Okay, so please go ahead, tell us what you're proposing to do.
Sure, so we're proposing a single family house, which you can see on the first page of the drawing set. And the first page also gives an overview of how the property is situated on the lot. Joe, you can go over some of the violations. The side yard and the front yard violations can be seen here on that. Yeah, exactly. If you zoom into that part with the green around it.
Right, so front yard, the plane of the house is actually not in violation, but we have added a front stoop where you see the door kind of swinging out onto that front stoop. And because that front stoop has a small roof on it, that makes it count, I guess, as part of the dwelling, so that's why it's in violation of the setback.
So you're 3 stories instead of 2.5 stories.
Correct.
What does that mean for height? How high is the building in feet?
You can go to the last page of the.
Can you tell us just tell us?
36.
It's 36, okay, and it's, what is the required?
35.
35, okay. Front yard insufficiency, FAR, what's required and what are you proposing?
It's 0.5 is the requirement, and we're proposing 0.6.
Okay. And what's the square foot of the lot?
I think it's 5,500 square feet.
Chris Fuller, do you have that handy?
It's 5470, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And is this a one-family zoning district? One family what?
Yes.
It's actually a 2F 7000.
2F 7000, so basically it's, for the first unit you need 7,000 square feet. Okay. And it looks like there are environmental reasons why the building is where it is, because it looks like you have a steep slope in the rear.
Correct. There's a rock wall there that we don't want to push the house into.
Okay. And how many bedrooms in here?
It will be 5 bedrooms. 6.
I'm sorry, 5 or 6 bedrooms?
6.
Okay, so just for the record, that the zoning requires that at the maximum you can have 4 unrelated individuals. So if there's any plans to rent out or anything else, please keep that in mind. How are the plans, Mr. Robinson?
Plans are good. Just one question. So there is an in-law suite called out on the attic level. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Can you just maybe give us a little bit of information on that?
Yeah, we're basically finishing the attic area as a living space, and we intend to either build it as just living space for us or make it an in-law suite where we have older parents that could live there at some point.
So there is no kitchen up there, it's just, and it's accessed through the house?
It's accessed through the house. I think there could be a kitchen, though.
No, that's, what you are before us is for a 1-family, not a 2-family.
Correct.
Okay, so we just want to make sure that this is, in fact, a 1-family that we're looking at.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, any questions from the board? Mr. Ehrlich? No? Is anybody here to speak either in support or in opposition of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. At this time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of the board. Some background information, this proposal was approved by the Jamaica Plain Neighborhood Council, and during the community process, our liaison could not recall any opposition or concerns. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I do have one raised hand if we don't have.
Sorry, Madam Ambassador. Secretary here, we do have letters of support.
Okay, just refresh. I think the person put their hand down. Okay, no, I think we're all set. Yep. Have any raised hands at the moment, Madam Chair?
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the BPDA design review.
And can we confirm that this is a 1-family and not a 2-family?
Yeah, and a proviso that there's no kitchen added to the in-law suite and that this stays a 1-family.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, so you're set with that proviso. So please remember, this is a 1-family and not to be rented out in any way.
Thank you.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 122-4197, 73 Stanwood Street. This is a change of art from a 2-family with to a 4-family dwelling. This is added front decks, roof deck with parking in the rear, and adding a 4th story to the building. The violations, Article 50, Section 28. Use is conditional, a 4F and a 3F zone. Article 50, Section 43, off-street parking is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, the additional lot area is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 50, Section 29, the building has excessive in stories. Article 50, Section 29, the building has excessive in feet. Article 50, Section 29, the usable open space is insufficient. Article 50, Section 29, the front yard is insufficient. And Article 50, Section 29, the side yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Irene Rosa. I'm the architectural designer from Rosa Design and Construction, 70 Warren Street, Suite 7 in Boston. We also happen to call the applicant and owner, Elizabeth Fernandez. What we're proposing here is to add basically a fourth addition. We will turn into a triple decker with a grade level story in the basement that we're looking to legalize. This also includes a roof deck with common access on the top.
I'm sorry, did you say there's going to be occupancy in the basement? What's happening in the basement?
There is an existing unit that we're looking to legalize. The legal use of the building right now, it's a two-family with daycare, which is currently not an existing condition. The daycare there's actually a unit that we're looking to legalize, and as you can see in the renderings, the access it's on grade access in the front.
Yes, I'm looking at the Redfin photos of the building, and it looks like in the rear so tell us about the floor to ceiling height, and tell us about the floor to sill height in that basement.
Yeah, so the ceiling height inside from finished floor to finished ceiling is 7'9". And in the front, if you look at the elevations, you have direct access from grade. Then going towards the back, because of the nature of the lot, it pitches, it goes up. So you basically have about even more than 50% of the space of the basement, going up above grade pretty much. So it goes from grade level all the way towards the back, coming below grade.
So is this, let's see, so you've proposed to move the bedrooms to the front 3 bedrooms. Can you tell us about the floor to sill height in that, in those bedrooms?
Yeah, the ceiling height, you mean, I'm sorry, you mean the exteriors?
The floor to sill height.
Oh yeah, so it's like as mentioned in the front, it's on grade. So going up, if you look at the elevations, it could be seen that there's no need for window wells. So it seems like we have pretty much enough space there to have an window egresses without window wells.
Yeah. If you go, Madam Ambassador, go to A2.1, you'll see the side elevation. It's dimensioned as the sill in the bedrooms at 2'8" above the finished floor, so they're fairly standard height windows. As you move to the rear, they do start to get buried in the site. That is true. However, it looks on the other side, they are able to put full-size windows in the living room as well. So the grade does work in their favor.
Okay, so you're basically replacing those narrow windows that I see on the photos with full windows.
Correct.
Okay. Then tell us about the other proposed unit.
Yeah, so it's basically adding a full story on the 3rd floor. We're basically lining up the building with the current conditions of what's around us there on the left and the side, meaning 109, 105 Stanwood Street, and also our neighbor on the right side, turning into a triple decker.
Okay, and then tell us about that roof deck and access to that roof deck.
Yeah, so the intention now we're proposing is to provide a common roof deck with 2 accesses, one in the front and one in the back.
And I'm assuming that these are through hatches?
Yeah, as you can see in the elevations and the renderings, there are 2 roof accesses, yeah, complete with full height.
I'm sorry, are they hatches or what are they?
No, it has full access. It's not
shown as full head houses. They're shown as full head houses.
So they are head houses. Yes.
Both are head houses, yes.
So there's 2 head houses, because just so that you know, this board is not keen on head houses. We just want to let you know for future reference and for reference on this project, because in the rendering, it does look like that's different than the abutters, okay?
Understood.
Yeah, tell us about the parking.
Right now, due to the existing conditions, we are proposing to add 4 parking spots, which is a current condition.
Okay. Okay. Let's see what else. Okay, how are the plans, Ms. Robinson?
Plans are fine. I actually don't have any real issue with the basement apartment. I think the head houses are, obviously they're even more ornate and larger than, and I am a little worried that with 2, usually there's 1, so it has a limited occupancy. Now it has 2, so it could carry almost as many people as you want it. So I think we need to question, I guess, the head houses in this particular case.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Madam Chair, Mr. D'Amico is on, so I'd like to see him speak if you'd like.
Oh, yes, of course. How are you?
I don't know if you can unmute him.
Yep, let me get him on. He's on the phone. Give me 1 second. 7, 8. The number I had him on, I don't see anymore. Let's see, are you on the 233 number, Mr. D'Amico?
Yes, hi, 233.
Oh, sorry. Give me 1 second.
Madam Ambassador, if you can't find him, I guess I could read into the record.
Okay.
Regarding 73 Stanwood Street, reduce the number of spaces from 4 to 3 to make maneuverability safer. The space should be removed and is a space located furthest from the home. Stanwood Street is one-way and is very narrow. However, there exists a driveway directly across from the driveway at 73 Stanwood, making access and egress acceptable. That's Mr. D'Amico.
Okay. He's actually unmuted. Okay, he's all set.
Bob, welcome.
Thank you.
We'll hear from you on the next case because Mr. Fortune did read your comments into the record, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak either in support or in opposition of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. This is Jason Gant with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. And a butters meeting was held by our office on November 29th, 2021, in which we did have about 6 participants for the community meeting. The applicant answered all questions and concerns that was raised specifically around the basement unit and also the addition of the 4 units, as some folks definitely felt that 4 units was a little bit much. The only other addition I would like to add is that Mike Kozu from Project Right has reached out just so the community can get another look at the actual proposal. We are going to be deferring this to the expertise of the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Dustin Gardner on behalf of City Councilor Worrell's office. We would also like to second the Mayor's office thoughts. We received concern also from Mike Kozu, who oversees the civic for this area, and he'd like them to come back and present before moving forward with the board. So we would request a deferral.
Madam Chair, Secretary, I have 1 letter of opposition in regards to parking.
And I do have 1 raised hand, Mike Kozu. Sorry, I sent a request to unmute you. Go ahead. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Well, we appreciate the homeowners and we support the homeowners' process to try to improve her property. We're concerned the lot size is only 3,800 square feet. As it's too small for a 4-unit property in that location. We would like a deferral just so we could talk about it. We're concerned about the roof deck. Roof decks have been public safety issues in the neighborhood, plus we had a toddler fall from a roof around the corner, so we're concerned about safety issues regarding that request.
So Mike, can I ask you please, besides the roof deck, is the opposition also on density going from a 2 to a 4?
Yes.
There is opposition to that?
Yes, but we would like the opportunity for the homeowner to make her case. If given that it's an existing homeowner, we're willing to talk, and that's why we're requesting deferral to hear a case out. Normally, we would oppose a 4-unit on a 3,800 square feet, going from a 2 to a 4, particularly on Stanwood, which is very dense.
Yep, got it, okay. Thank you. Ms. Ambassador, anybody else?
No, ma'am, I have no additional raised hands at the moment.
Madam Chair, just for the record, the size of the lot based on the plot plan is 4,795 square feet.
Okay, Ms. Ambassador, okay. Anybody else, Ms. Ambassador?
Check. I see no additional raised hands.
May I have a motion, please?
Would the applicant be okay with a deferral?
Elizabeth?
No, I think let's make a motion for deferral.
Okay.
But on the record, put what our concerns are, okay?
Yeah, I have concerns about the roof deck and the head house.
Okay, so let's make a motion.
I make a motion for deferral with those concerns.
Okay, so the concerns are roof deck and the head houses.
Yep.
And Mr. Robinson, you're fine with the basement unit,
Yes.
okay? And then you also get Rosa about the concern about parking.
Correct.
Okay, so there's a motion, then there's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And do we have a date?
Yes, we have a date of March 22nd at 11:30. Madam Chair, I'm not sure if Mr. Ehrlich is on. We think we lost his.
Okay. Let's proceed with the next case. And when Mr. Ehrlich gets on, so for the next case coming up, we have a 6-member board. You need 5 of the 6 members to be in support for your motion to carry, for your project to carry. Okay?
Calling the next case, calling VOA 1211826 26 Eggleston Street. This is a driveway added to the right side of the home for 2 parking spaces, and at the rear, 1 space in the driveway entrance. The violation, Article 10, Section 1, limitation of off-street parking. Article 55, Section 40, off-street parking and loading. Article 55, Section 9, the usable open space is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this is Kyle Smith of KDS Law, business address of 359 Newbury Street in Boston Back Bay. For the record, thank you for your approval of the proposed Planet Fitness, which is going to be in the basement of our building. So thank you very much for that.
So please tell us what you're proposing here.
So Madam Chair, there is currently a existing 3-family structure on site. There is an existing driveway that doesn't currently serve multiple parking spaces to the rear of the structure. It's my understanding that in the conversion of Eggleston Street to a one-way at a previous point in time, a lot of owners did successfully petition and obtain approval for off-street parking. The prior owner to my client having purchased this property in January of 2020, mounted the curb for parking. So there is not currently a curb cut on site, but the property was, for all intents and purposes, used as off-street parking. My client does want to legalize that process and also include additional parking to the rear of the parcel to basically extend the existing driveway to the right of the structure to provide for 2 spaces to the rear with a additional 3rd space closer to the street but on the right side of the existing structure.
Ms. Edwards, can you move the plans a little bit so we can see the rear of the property? So, Mr. Smith, can you tell us where that 3rd space would be?
Yes, I'm not sure why the plan generator did this, but there's actually 2 pages, Madam Chair, of the site plan. 1 page, all of which is in possession of Stephanie Haynes. 1 page shows the existing parking space and drive, which is on the front. There you are, that page. And then 1 shows the rear. So it's an aggregate of 3 spaces, and you'll note that on the refusal letter issued by ISD, it references an aggregate of 3 parking spaces. So in other words, Madam Chair, 1 is towards the front of the drive near the street, 2 are to the rear. So hence we have maneuverability.
I think the question for us is then, if one of the cars in the rear anticipates exiting, what happens to this car that's in the front, which looks like it might in fact be partially front yard parking?
So, Madam Chair, as is not terribly uncommon, we do have tandem spaces often. So, to answer your question, this parking space, they'd have to do a little bit of dancing, unfortunately, with vehicles. But that's why we are cited for a maneuverability issue. So this car affirmatively is parking in the balance to the rear. Whether the actual parked car is, breaking the front plane of the building or parked into the, farther deeper into the driveway, there is certainly room for it, and that's currently how it's being used.
How are the plans, Mr. Robinson?
Madam Chair, before Mr. Robinson, Mr. D'Amico has spoke on this one, so I would hope that you get his on the record before Mr. Robinson.
Yes. Hold on, Mr. D'Amico. Oh yeah, you're waving your hand, so let's go. Miss Ambassador, can you unmute Mr. D'Amico?
Yes. Get to his name again. Okay, there, 1 second. Okay, I sent a request, Mr. D'Amico.
And Madam Chair, sorry for interrupting. As a result of the community process, it's relevant for you for provisos, but in meeting with Eggleston, Main Street, and then also meeting with the APNDC,
The Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, okay?
there are requirements of us, yes.
Okay. Mr. D'Amico, please go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, lead members of the board, I'd like to request denial since there is nowhere near the amount of room to maneuver in the rear.
Thank you. And Mr. Robinson, how are the plans?
I think you get what you see what you get, because it is quite tight along the whole edge, and it would be challenging, I think, to maneuver back there for certain. But if there's 3 parking spots off the street, I don't know if that's a benefit or not.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah. Is that 8 foot 5 inches and then 8 foot 4 inches for the width where the bump out is to the property line? Is that what I'm reading?
That's what it says on the plans, yes.
Okay. I mean, that's not sufficient to get a car through either.
It's tight, very tight. And there's a curve to the right, because the site sort of drops a little bit, so this is down a little bit. So it is very tight. I agree with that. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support or in opposition of this proposal?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of the board. We have some background information. ONS did host an abutters meeting that was very lightly attended. There were no serious concerns raised at that meeting. They went on to the Jamaica Plain Neighborhood Council, which recommended approval. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I have no raised hands at the moment.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, make a follow-up comment?
No, we are in the process of having a motion, of making a motion.
I'll make a motion for denial.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ligris.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay, motion carries. It's been denied. There are 5 in supporting that motion. Okay?
Calling the next case, calling BOA 121-4940, 1441 Tremont Street. This is a conditional use permit for recreational marijuana dispensary. The violations, Article 59, Section 15, the use is forbidden. The cannabis establishment shall be sited at least 1/2 mile or 2,640 feet from another existing cannabis establishment and at least 500 feet from a pre-existing public or private school providing education in kindergarten or any of the grades from 1 to 12. Note, this is proposed cannabis establishes in nonconformity with this regulation, therefore forbidden. Article 59, Section 15, the use is conditional. Marijuana dispensary is a conditional use in the zoning subdistrict. Name and address for the record, please.
Madam Chair, before you proceed, I'll be recusing myself on this matter, Ligris. Thank you.
Okay, hold on. So Mr. Ehrlich is,
He's here.
I'm here.
you're here? Okay, so just for the applicant to know, we have a 6-member board and you need 5 members in support of your proposal. For it to proceed, you can request a deferral, but it's up to you. Can we have the applicant put their name and address on the record?
You gotta unmute Alexis. She just commented in the chat, whoever Alexis is.
Give me a second to get her. Alexis should be on as a panelist. Okay, yeah, Alexis, you can unmute yourself as a panelist. Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. I am also joined by the applicant here, Jody Mendoza. If somebody could please unmute her, she will also be helpful in describing her business plan.
So please put your name and address on the record while that's going on, and go ahead and tell us what's being proposed.
Sure. Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. My name is Attorney Alexis Kachuk. I can be located at 1 State Street in Boston, Mass. What is being proposed today is a buffer zone variance and a conditional use permit for a 1,000 square foot space that would be a recreational retail cannabis establishment in Mission Hill.
Okay, so please tell us if you're with what, are you within 1/2 mile of what?
We are within 1/2 mile of another cannabis establishment. The applicant here is an economic empowerment applicant with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
So how, can you tell us how close the other cannabis facility is?
It's approximately a 6 to 8 minute walk, and it's about 1,200 feet short of the 1/2 mile necessary.
Okay. And has this been approved by the Cannabis Control Commission for this location?
It has been approved by the Boston Cannabis Board for this location. The applicant has been approved by the Cannabis Control Commission with a provisional license and certifications.
I mean, that's fine, but our concern is that it is within the 1/2 mile buffer. And so that is our concern. And is there any, are you in proximity to a grade school?
We are not in proximity to a grade school.
Or a 1 to 12 school?
We are not.
Okay, okay. And so this is forbidden, and then it is, okay, so the reason that it's a forbidden use is because of proximity, and the reason it's conditional use is because it's a marijuana facility. Okay, well, why don't you go ahead, tell us what's being proposed, but just know for the record that this board is not, does not look kindly on projects that are within 1/2 miles of other projects,
Completely understand. I'm going to speak quickly because I also see that at-large Councilor Mejia is in the chat hoping to speak on this matter, and she only has until 11:30, so I'm going to speak quickly.
Yes, please give us the meat of the matter so that we understand what's being proposed.
So the meat of the matter is that it is within a buffer zone of another cannabis establishment. I recognize that this board has a strict scrutiny regarding these buffer zones, appropriately so. Generally, the zoning was established so that cannabis establishments would not be clustered in a green mile, if you will, within our city, similar to those that were out in Colorado. So when Boston set up its zoning map, it wanted to avoid these clusters and wanted people to make their case of why this wouldn't cluster a neighborhood. In this case, as I said, it's a 6 to 8 mile walk, 8-minute walk. It is directly across the street from an MVTA police station. The applicant has worked with neighborhood partners and has been approved by the Community Alliance of Mission Hill, and also has a good neighbor agreement in place with Mission Hill Neighborhood Housing Services. In between this establishment and the other approved cannabis establishment.
Can you hold on? Councilor Pia, can you put your name and address on the record and tell us what you need for us to have, knowing where this board stands with distance, and then we will continue to hear on the merits of this case. So please go ahead, Councilor.
Okay, so do you want me to do it here or on the chat? I'm Councilor at large.
Put your name and address on the record and tell us your opinion on this proposal.
Yeah, so I am, for the record, my name is Julia Mejia. I'm an at-large city councilor in the city of Boston. My address is 48 Capon Street and Dorchester, Mass. 02124. And I'm basically here to support the cannabis, to support the members of the zoning board in regards to the importance of enforcing and upholding the established buffer zone laws for cannabis establishment. I respectfully ask the commission to deny any proposal that requests a variance to amend the code and that disregards the 1.5 mile buffer zone and the required 500-foot minimal distance from a school zone. I do also understand that this particular application is within the Tobin Street Community Center, so that's another, it may not be a school, but it's definitely a community center, so just wanted to flag that as well.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I do have a few raised hands.
No, let's go back and hear from the applicant so that they can in fact talk about their project more fully, and then we will proceed as normal. We just took Councilor out of sequence because she had other commitments.
Thank you so very much.
Madam Chair, I'm a little confused. Is Councilor Mejia in support or opposition?
She's in opposition because she would like the 1/2 mile radius respected.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's hear from the applicant because, we do need to give somebody due process about specifics about this proposal, and how it would work, etc., etc.
Sure. Specifics about this proposal, as I stated before, it's a 6 to 8 minute walk in between the establishments. This walk is separated by large industrial lots, a DCR operations lot. It is not clustered. The two cannabis establishments are not clustered in a way that they would unduly burden the neighborhood.
What is the address of the other cannabis facility?
123 Terrace Street.
Oh yeah, of course. Yep, got it. Okay, so tell us about the operation, and tell us about how it's proposed to work. Tell us about security, hours of operation. Does it have off-street delivery? Because Tremont, Parker, and Gurney Streets are all busy streets. So tell us how this project is supposed to function in this location.
Sure. The proposed hours are 12 to 8, 7 days a week. It is 1,000 square foot location. It's very similar to a storefront, street front convenience store type setup. The deliveries would take place in the alleyway around the back off of Parker Street.
Okay.
The security team is made up of not only high quality electronics, Petroscan ID technology, but a strong, seasoned security team The day-to-day operations would be handled by someone who has been a 15-year nightclub veteran. He has extensive crowd control, de-escalation, and compliance experience. The security manager is someone with 25 years of experience as a Randolph police detective. They will be using Petroscan ID technology, which is used throughout the cannabis industry as an industry leader. Their good neighbor agreement with the surrounding entities has them working with Area B2 extensively regarding lighting and an additional security camera presence, not only for in the store, but surrounding the store.
Okay, and can I ask, is it located next to the check cashing place, or what is the specific?
It is a former check cashing place.
It's the former check cashing, okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
The applicant has extensive experience in the licensing, hospitality, and entertainment industry. They are a local, diverse entrepreneur couple that is owner and operator of a Mojitos Country Club in Randolph. They also were a longtime license holder in the city of Austin and downtown Crossing without incident. They have extensive experience with
What is their facility downtown?
Their facility downtown is on Winter Street. They no longer have that, but they had it for more than a decade without incident.
And what was it?
It was Mojitos Bar Nightclub.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, of course. So, how are the plans, Mr. Robinson?
Plans are fine. It's very, very basic in terms of the plans themselves. I guess I'm just trying to make sure I understand it. I'm looking at their diagram, and the 500-foot buffer seems to actually go through the Tobin K through 8 label of the school. So I guess I'm questioning the dimensions of this, and looking at the aerial and measuring it, it looks like it's within 300-ish feet of the community center as well. And I know this route is trafficked highly by kids going to the Orange Line T and things. So I think just location, I guess, is a question for me.
And I think, Mr. Robinson, just so that we are equal with our presentation, is there enough, should there be overflow, is there enough space for people to line up? Does it look like there is enough space?
So there is interior space. I think it's tight. It's not a very big space, so I think that's probably fine. There is a waiting sort of area, vestibule, that's not just a vestibule. It's larger than that, and there is a fairly clear sequence through the front space. I mean, it's not very big at all, the whole place, but there is adequate sort of space off the street for a couple people, maybe 2-3 to be waiting. I don't see the security that we typically see before people are buzzed in, but that just might not be represented on the plans. This plan that's up now doesn't show any detail. It's the in the other package of information. So I don't know if there's a security desk in that small vestibule, then that would change the dynamic of it because it is small.
Miss Edwards, can you pull up that section of the plan so that we can see if they've submitted how the, okay. Yes, please. Is this what you're referring to, Mr. Robinson?
Correct. So Tremont Street's to the left. That's the entry point. You can see the vestibule is pulled back, and that's a dimension of 5.5 feet, which is adequate, fine, with the sort of looks like some benches, but I just don't know if they have a security point in that vestibule.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
They also have a basement area. I don't mean to interrupt the board, but there is a basement area.
Alexis, please stop. The board is in discussion, okay?
I have a couple of questions. In addition to the Tobin Community Center, I mean, across the street on Tremont is RCC in Madison Park. What's the distance from the establishment to those facilities?
It is more than 500 feet. I can type in the exact. With respect to the Tobin Community Center, it's 443 feet away. And the Tobin Community Center is part of the advisory board of the Good Neighbor Agreement to work with the operator.
Okay, got it. I understand that both RCC and Madison are more than 500 feet, but as Mr. Robinson pointed out, people gather at the T-stop there. And this whole issue of buffer zones continues to drive me nuts about, what is, are we absolutely enforcing the half mile, or are we not? The issue of equity, compromise those rules. It just seems every single case is treated on its own, and the Boston board apparently approved this, knowing that it's within the half mile buffer zone. So I've always asked that we get clear direction on what the city policy is, and we've never gotten it.
Yeah, but I suppose then it leaves us to, quote, create policy.
Yeah.
It's zoning by relief. So let's see. Any other questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak either in support or in opposition of this proposal?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Molly Griffin from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. At this time, our office would like to defer to the board's judgment regarding this application. There was a community meeting held on June 24th, 2021, where there were concerns and support both shown by neighbors and members of the community. At this point, I have received 6 letters of support, including from the Community Alliance of Mission Hill and the Mission Hill Neighborhood Housing Services, with whom the applicant has a good neighbor agreement. I also received, which I believe the board has, a letter of opposition from the chair of the board from the Tobin Community Center. And as was said, the Boston Cannabis Board approved this on December 15th, 2021. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Secretary, we do have letters of support as well.
Ms. Ambassador, any other raised hands?
Yes, I do have quite a few raised hands. We'll start with Martin. Martin, I sent a request to unmute you. Can you state your name and address for the record, please? Okay. Martin, I'm not sure what's happening. I'll go to John Fitzgerald. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, how we doing? Good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Fitzgerald. I am the president of the Mission Hill Community Center and have been for at least 12 plus years now. I've lost count. But happy to be in front of you and on this, speaking in opposition of this project today. Thank you, Mr. Robinson, for bringing up the fact that we were actually within the 500 feet. Our concern here is that the Tobin Community Center is really the epicenter of a lot of programming in a wide area. Not just Mission Hill itself, it extends into Roxbury, Fenway, Jamaica Plain. Folks really come from all over, and we are very proud of the programming we provide for the youth in all of those communities. Its location to the orange line and the green line on the other side on Huntington Ave has a lot of people coming to our establishment by way of public transportation. This only down to me as the location of, if the spirit of the zoning, to Mr. Ehrlich's point, if the spirit of the zoning is to say within 500 feet, and our community center with attached to the Tobin School puts ourselves, I'll let the legal experts take care of that, but if we are one and the same, then yes, we are within that buffer of 500 feet. And so property line to property line, there is a restriction there. And so for the sake of the kids and the programming we put on, we just want to know, as this stuff goes forward and these stores start to come up all over the place and more are proposed, let's please abide by the zoning that was put in place. And therefore,
Mr. Fitzgerald, thank you. Can I ask other speakers to give us new information? And once you've spoken, please lower your hands, please. And let's go, Ms. Ambassador.
Okay, Martin, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Martin Weinborn. I'm at 88 Allegheny Street in Mission Hill, and I'm here as the president of the Community Alliance of Mission Hill. So I would like to report in this capacity that our organization voted in favor of the project. 2/3 of the members were in support, 1/3 opposed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then Adam? Sent a request to unmute you. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Adam Sarbo with the business address of 1457 Tremont Street in Mission Hill. Going to, I want to parlay and go off the buffer zone, but I also make note that the board hasn't mentioned the ABCD Youth Center that is at 714 Parker Street, which is 200 feet away from this location. So just want to say that. But talking about the actual location and layout that the proponent has put, there is no parking on site. There is none of that, which should create a larger foyer area. If you look at the plans, as Mr. Robinson pointed out, there's only a 5 foot or 5.5 foot area of a foyer to hold a large line. The cannabis doesn't allow public streets as their line forming, so I'm not really sure if that's enough space.
Thank you.
Sorry, Jack, go ahead. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Jack Stenhouse. My address is 345 Harrison Avenue. I'm representing the owner of 1441 Tremont Street, as well as other properties in Mission Hill, who is in support of this proposal, as well as tenants of ours that live on Mission Hill that have expressed support through a few letters of support and a petition that gained 100 signatures within 24 hours.
Can you tell us who the owner of the building is?
Kurt Stenhouse, 388 East 8th Street.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, thank you. Ms. Ambassador, are we all set?
We are all set. Thank you.
Okay. May I have the attorney give a few points in response? That is new information, and then we will move to a motion.
Thank you. As I will reiterate, there is a good neighbor agreement where all parties would be at the table in terms of security, diversion, and community benefits. What's also a special condition to note is that the Mission Hill neighborhood is basically 1 square mile. And while most neighborhoods in Boston, 1 square mile, have approximately 14,300 residents, in the Mission Hill neighborhood, there are 24,000 residents in that same 1 square mile radius. The population definitely supports more than one establishment, particularly one that has agreed to meet extensively with the community and has entrepreneurs that are equity applicants and experienced in this type of hospitality and security industry.
Thank you. Okay, given all that information, can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to deny. I think the sorry.
Yep. I think your point earlier about location was well taken. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Calling the next case at 10:30, calling BOA 128-0543, 190 to 192 Dudley Street. This is demolish the existing one-story retail building, combine 2 lots and erect a 5-story residential building with 24 apartments on floors 2 through 5, and build a new retail store on the first floor with bike room for 34 bikes. The violation is Article 50, Section 43, insufficient parking. Article 50, Section 43, insufficient loading. Article 50, Section 11, insufficient rear yard setback, and Article 50, Section 11, excessive FAR. Name and address for the record, please. Mr. Sayers on, or Mr. Rusko?
Should be. Second.
This is Jeremy Sears. Patrick Mahoney should be presenting. I believe he is on.
I'd like to, Madam Chair, I need to recuse myself from this.
Okay, so I just need to make a note of who's recusing when. Joe's recusing, Costa recused, okay. Just for the record, this is a 6-member board, and the applicant needs 5 members to be in support of this proposal. So I just put that on the record. Is there a representative of the applicant on for this project?
Yes, there is. Hello, Madam Chair. My name is Elpida Peristeropoulou. I'm part of the architecture team. I believe Patrick Mahoney, who is our zoning attorney, will be presenting this, but I think he has a connection issue, and I'm happy to take over if he's not able to speak today.
I just want to, let's wait for him. Actually, is he on? In the meantime, Mr. Fortune, let's move to Crest Hill Road.
Sure, Madam Chair. Calling case BOA 1285392, 98 Crest Hill Road. This is to construct a new single-family home on a vacant lot at 98 Crest Hill Road. The violation of Article 51, Section 9, lot area is insufficient. Article 51, Section 9, lot width is insufficient. And Article 51, Section 9, the building height is excessive in stories.
Madam,
That's for the record, please.
Madam
Good morning, Madam.
Myself on this matter, Ligris.
Morning, Madam Chair. It's Kurt Bletzer, 300 Market Street, representing the applicant. I missed the original call. I apologize, but we were asking for a deferral
Okay.
from today's hearing.
May I have a motion, please?
Make a
I'll
motion
make
to
a
deferral.
motion to defer.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please.
You'll have a date of March 22nd at 11:30.
Thank you very much.
See you then.
Take care.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 1283800, 128 Webster Street. This is adding an interior stair hatch and roof deck. The violation is Article 27T. This is in the East Boston iPod. Article 53, Section 52, roof structure restriction. Article 53, Section 9, front yards insufficient. Article 53, Section 9, side yards insufficient. And Article 53, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Attorney Laureen Scatino from Richard Linz's office regarding 128 Webster Street with a business address of 245 Sumner Street in East Boston. With me on the line is Eric Zackerson, the architect on this project, and Frank Sinke, the owner of the top unit condo. As mentioned, this is a plan to erect an internal staircase with a hatch to access a roof deck, which would only be accessible to the top unit.
How many units in this building?
So the interesting part about this building, I don't know off the top of my head the number of units. There's 4 in the 31 Cottage Street side, which ISD has this property listed as 128 Webster, but it's a corner building. And the roof deck is actually on the Cottage Street side that they use 31 Cottage.
Okay, and so the proposal is to access it through a hatch to the roof deck. And tell us about that roof deck.
Sure. So the roof deck, we've actually set back 9.8 feet from the front. 10 feet would be required, but we've tried to push it back as far as we can to keep the street view relatively minimal. And depending on which way you look at this roof deck, if you look at this as a corner building or if you look at this as a front building, we're at 0.5 for a side yard or 2.5 from the rear yard. But I can have the architect just go through the materials that are being planned. And the other 2 violations that we would be subject to is iPod and roof structure restrictions based on East Boston.
Okay, got it. How are the plans, Mr. Robinson?
Plans are fine, no question. Roof hatch and no other questions for that.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak either in support or in opposition?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. At this time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the board's judgment. Some background information: the Mayor's Office conducted a butters meeting on October 13th. Notice that we have from this is that it is owner-occupied. The local civic voted to support, and the community had recommended a hatch over the head house, which sounds like that's what the applicant has gone with. Thank you.
Ms. Ambassador, anybody else?
Madam Chair, I have no raised hands at the moment.
May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm going to go back to Dudley Street. Are they on?
Ms. Ambassador, can you unmute Patrick Mahoney?
Okay, he's actually on my phone now. He's saying he's having issues. Hold on, Patrick. He says he is unmuted, but for some reason it's not taking his voice. Let me try. Patrick, can you hear us? Give him a call back. Oh, I'm going to put him on speaker on my phone.
We can see him now.
Can you hear us?
Good day, to reach Patrick Mahoney's community.
Okay. Not sure. Oh, hold on, I'm calling back 1 second. Okay, Patrick, I'm going to put you on speaker. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, go ahead. Can you guys hear him?
We can.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I apologize for this. I'm having an issue with the sound.
And this one, Mr. Mahoney.
Mr. Mahoney, before you go any further, let me just call, and for the record, I already did the violations and everything else, but I'm just going to call it for the record.
Okay.
POA 1280543, 190 to 192 Dudley Street.
And for the record too, Mr. Ruggiero has recused himself. Go ahead, Mr. Mahoney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as the board may remember, we are proceeding before the board for a second time. They were denied previously, and were recommended to add some family-sized units. The proposal before us today reflects that, is a reduced unit count, not because of density issues, but there was no other way to include family-sized units. Specifically, now we have a 24-unit apartment building over our clients, Rena Enterprises, Mohammed Ghani, and Mohammed Masood's convenience store. And there'll be 24 apartments above it, 3 of which are 3-bedroom units, 5 1-bedroom units, and the remaining are 2-bedroom units. And the intent there was to increase bedroom count to allow for families per the board's previous recommendation. Additionally, we're seeking relief for floor area ratio. The FAR in this area is 2.0, and the proposal is 3.5 FAR. We have a 3-foot side rear yard variance that we're seeking relief, as well as parking and loading.
So what's the required rear yard?
The required rear yard is 20 feet, and the proposed project is 17.
And the proposed for the rear yard is 17? Okay, and then let's just see, you're providing no parking. You've gotten through the FAR. Okay, and your side yard is okay. Okay. So tell us about, if it's easier, your architect can possibly tell us about the dimensions or the average square footage of these 1, 2s, and 3s?
Certainly, Madam Chair, the 1-bedroom unit, the minimum 1-bedroom unit size is 660 square feet, which is about 45 square feet larger than required. And the largest 1-bedroom is 750 square feet. The 2-bedroom units range from 852 to 945 square feet, of which there are 16. And the 3-bedroom units are 1,225 square feet. Additionally, and previously presented to the board, there was 4 IDP units for then 28. We left the IDP the same despite the reduction in unit count, so there will still be 4 IDP units. That was something that was important to the elected officials and the community, and one of the 3-bedroom units will be an IDP unit. There'll be 2 of the 2-bedroom units will be IDP, and one of the 1-bedroom.
Any roof deck proposed?
There is no roof deck. It is worth noting that in a recent comment from the public and an elected official, they requested that we have a gathering space in the rear for the residents, and our clients have agreed to do that, specifically tables with umbrellas and a potential barbecue area.
And that's in the rear yard?
Yes.
And that's within the 17-foot rear yard. Okay. So tell us about parking. At our last meeting, we had a proposal that came in. Oh, I think maybe you were the applicant on it, with 5 parking spaces. And I think my comment at that point is when does this neighborhood reach a capacity issue with all these projects coming through with no parking or few parking spots?
No, Madam Chair, that's important. That's correct. It was about a block away. We are seeking relief for parking, and we were not able to amend the Article 80 application to include parking because it was approved as it was, and they would not allow us to amend it to reduce the size of the convenience store because most of the support was garnered around the convenience store being increased and maintained in the community. However, our clients do have an LOI for 20 parking spaces just on the other side of Ziegler Street, approximately 250 feet away. We're still seeking relief, to be fair, but they do have an LOI to rent spaces, which is one of the solutions that was offered from the board.
And so this LOI is for what term?
3 years is a maximum control of the user of the parking lot on the other side of Ziegler Street that they can send it for, and that is what's determined at this time. But it can extend.
As you'll probably guess, I think that is insufficient. That is clearly not enough because unless we expect demolition of this building in 3 years, because this community is going to be very significantly impacted with all these projects, with lack of parking, where there is no certainty that these spots will be. There's nothing on the records or at the registry of deeds that will confirm that this parking will continue until the building is demolished to be replaced with something else. How are the plans?
Chair, it is important to have affordable units in the area. It is important to have black-owned businesses succeed in the area. These are not real estate developers. They're really trying to increase their existing business. And this is a little bit different scenario, and there's been no community opposition with the exception from the board related to parking.
Yes. Let's see. I think the board has received some notes of opposition, just so that it's on the record. But let's go ahead. How are the plans, Mr. Robinson?
Plans are good. Really no question. I think the scope, we all understand the proposal at this point. No questions for me about what is being asked.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, this is Chase Gant from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. While I don't want to speak in support of the project, I do want to highlight the fact that my office has received a letter of support and opposition for the project. We are going to be deferring to the board as this was a BPD facilitated project. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Joshua McFadden, Office of City Councilor Tanya Fernandez-Anderson. I'd like to go on record in support at this time. Thank you.
Oh, Josh, you're back.
I am. It's good to see you. Thank you.
Okay, and Madam Chair, do you want to call the letters on record, Secretary?
Anybody else?
I do have a raised hand.
My address is...
Yep, Kyle, you've been unmuted. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yep, my name is Kyle Miller. My address is 184 Dudley Street. I represent Madison Park Development Corporation and a butter of this project. We're pleased to report the proponents of this project have presented this development to us. We too are pleased that they have exceeded the required affordability requirements under IDP, and we look forward to working with them as this project progresses.
Thank you. And I know Betty Tony's on the phone. Betty, if you would like to speak, go ahead. You can press *3.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Minor Perez representing the Carpenters Union. Would like to go on record in support of this project.
Okay. And I'm waiting for Betty, but I sent a request to unmute you, Betty. If you would like to talk, let me know. Other than that, I do not have any additional raised hands at the moment. And Betty, if you can hear me, if you want to press *3, that will unmute you. I think we may be all set, unless Betty can jump in.
Okay, no more raised hands?
No.
Okay, so I know we got letter of opposition from, is it Valerie Shelley from Orchard?
Betty is unmuted now. I apologize. Betty, did you want to speak? Sorry to interrupt. Betty, can you hear us?
I've been trying, so please excuse me, Madam Chair and Board, but I am calling in to voice opposition from the Roxbury Neighborhood Council. This proposal, we are opposing on the issue of upzoning, the notion of 5 stories and 24 units will increase, well, not just increase, but it's excessive. The density and the height is too much for this area with all the things that the chairperson has already alluded to in terms of density. So the Roxbury Neighborhood Council is opposing this, and we are opposing upzoning in this area of Nubian Square for all the reasons that I just mentioned. Thank you.
Please put your name and address on the record.
Oh, my name is Betty Toney. I live at 20 Alpine Street, and I'm calling in for the neighborhood, Roxbury Neighborhood Council. And I want to also thank the ambassadors and Jessica Thomas for helping me to get on. It has really been a problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Betty. I do see Bob D'Amico's hand is raised. I did send a request to unmute you. You see it.
Okay, can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve. I think the adjustment of the unit sizes per the last hearing.
Yeah, how come the guys didn't raise their hand and speak?
Hello?
What?
No, you have to raise your hand and then you'll unmute you.
Andre, is that you?
Yeah,
okay,
so Andre, I unmuted him. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No. So there's a motion in play. Let's go for it.
I'll make a motion to approve. While I understand the concerns, I think the oversized units and supporting the local business seems to me make some sense. So I'll make a motion to approve with BPDA design review.
I'll second that motion, Ligris.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I will voice my opposition because I do think that this is overdevelopment of the site with no parking and no relief for the community. And just as I mentioned at the last meeting, there is a lot of development proposed and everybody's coming in with lack of parking. So this neighborhood and the business district is going to be in a crunch in a couple of years without relief. So that's my voice of opposition. Anybody else in opposition? Motion carries with approval with design review. It is now 11:48. The meeting is adjourned until 12:30. Afternoon. The City of Boston Zoning Board of Appeal hearing for February 8th is now in session. This hearing is being conducted in accordance with the applicable provisions of the open meeting law, including the provisions of an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency that was signed by Governor Baker on June 16, 2021. The new law allows the board to continue its practice of holding virtual hearings that it adopted during the COVID-19 pandemic until April 1st, 2022. I will just skip to instructions about how to comment. If you wish to comment on an appeal, please click the raise your hand icon in the application via the WebEx event platform. To raise your hand, click the participant information icon. From there, find your name, and on the lower right-hand side, you should see a hand-raising icon. Click that icon and your hand will be raised virtually. Click it again and your hand should go down. If you are connected to the hearing by telephone, please press *3 to raise your hand. The order of comments, when we call for comments, the order of comments is as follows. Elected officials, representatives of elected officials, and the public at large. Mr. Fortune, let's go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to echo here. I'm going to call the 1230s for any deferrals or withdrawals. If you can give me the address first, please.
221 East Eagle Street, Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Lins, for the record, calling VOA 125-6992, 221 East Eagle Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston, on behalf of the petitioner.
May I have a motion, please?
I'll make
a motion to defer.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please.
We'll have a date of March 22nd at 11:30.
Also 57 Webster Street, Mr. Secretary.
Okay. Calling case BOA 106-5886, 57 Webster Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston, on behalf of the petitioner.
Mr. Lins, this looks like a less impactful project. Is there a reason why you're requesting a deferral?
We understand that there's some opposition that remains that we were hoping to continue to work on.
Okay. May I have a motion, please?
Motion for deferral.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please.
That will be also March 22nd at 11:30.
Thank you.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals?
39 Hancock Street, please.
Okay. Sorry, hold on 2 seconds. For the record, calling VOA 125-8629, 39 Hancock Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney Matt Eckel with Drago and Toscano with the business address of 11 Beacon Street on behalf of the applicant. We are seeking a short deferral. We went back to the community after our last deferral and made some changes to the project. We did incur one new violation which needs to be advertised. So again, we're seeking a short deferral to allow for that to happen.
May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to defer.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The date, please.
We can squeeze it. If it's re-advertised, we can fit it in for March 22nd at 9:30.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals for the 1230 cases?
Yes, Mr. Fortune, this is George Moranci. I have two. The first, please, is 157 West Springfield Street.
For the record, calling DOA 123-7014, 157 West Springfield Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Madam Chair, I'm going to recuse myself from this. Eric.
Eric, okay. May I have Mr. Moranci, the reason?
George Moranci, I'm an attorney with the business address at 350 West Broadway. Madam Chair, the reason is that we had continued dialogue with the community, specifically with Councilor Anderson. As a result, there's an agreement in place where my client will be adding an IDP unit to the project. So we need to have revised floor plans reviewed by ISD before proceeding with the hearing.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to defer.
Second. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please.
That will be April 5th at 11:30. And what was the other address, Mr. Moranci?
The other address is 8 Norton Street.
Okay. For the record, calling DOA 124-9024, 8 Norton Street. Name and address for the record, please.
George Moranci, I'm an attorney with the business address at 350 West Broadway in South Boston. Madam Chair, there were revised plans for this project. The plans examiner was on vacation. As a result, they have not been, they weren't examined by the examiner in time for today's hearing. I would like to request a deferral to allow that to happen.
Motion for deferral.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The
That
date,
also will be a date of April 5th at 11:30.
man, I'm
Thank
gonna be a year older by then. Oh my goodness.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals for the 12:30 cases?
But younger in spirit, Madam Chair.
Yes, that's true.
Is Half Moon Street on?
Yes. Joseph,
You're deferring, I take it?
yes, we're requesting a deferral. We submitted revised drawings last
Hold on 2 seconds, sir. Let me just call it in for the record. Calling BOA 118-9307, 3 Half Moon Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Joseph Luna, Luna Design Group, 100 Conifer Hill Drive, Suite 406, Danvers, Massachusetts, 01923, on behalf of the applicant Francois Toka. The reason for our deferral, we were requested to submit revised drawings. Those were submitted last week. We're asking for a deferral to the next meeting to allow proper review of the new information.
May I have a motion?
Make a motion for deferral.
Is there a
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The date, please.
The next date you're going to have is March 8th at 11:30.
March 8th at 11:30. Thank you. We'll
That's
see you.
correct. Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals for 12:30? Hearing none, I'll call the first case. Calling DOA 123-7032, 340 Meridian Street. This is a change, the occupancy from a 3-family dwelling to a 4-family dwelling. Basement unit with interior renovation and exterior building and a new roof deck. Violations, Article 53, Section 9, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 53, Section 52, roof structure restrictions. Article 53, Section 56, off-street parking. Article 53, Section 9, the additional lot area is insufficient. Article 53, Section 9, the building height is excessive in feet. On Article 53, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Madam Chair, I need to recuse myself on this. Sorry, Councilor Ligris.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Attorney Jeff Drago with Drago and Toscano with the business address of 11 Beacon Street, representing Jorge Rodriguez, the owner and applicant of 340 Meridian Street. And I also have Eric Zackerson from Context, who's the architect in the project. The proposal is we're seeking to change the occupancy from an existing 3-family structure to a 4-family and complete renovation of the exterior and interior of the building and adding a roof deck on top of the structure. The building, just to point out, will remain the contours of the building, and in that original rendering you can see what we are going to restore the historic features in Eagle Hill to the building to the left to mirror that, rather than what's up there now. You can see in this picture in existing conditions.
So, Council, why were you deferred the last time?
Because the plans had to be re-reviewed, Madam Chair. There was a missing violation.
Okay. And so that violation has been read into the record today?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Okay, so please go ahead, tell us what's...
And that was a rear yard violation, Madam Chair, just, it's a pre-existing violation. And so again, that's looking at the rear of the building. Just to point out, we're adding decks. Right now, where that structure is, there's enclosed porches that were used for bedrooms. We're removing those to create additional space for each unit.
So, Councilor, can you get to the point and
Sure.
tell us how that 4th unit is going to be created? Tell us about if there's going to be occupancy in the basement, and go directly to that deck.
Sure. So again, as it's laid out now, Madam Chair, there is space in the basement or lower level now. It's 70% above grade with a full walkout in the rear. The unit is connected to the first floor unit. So that's a 6-bedroom unit as it exists now. Same on unit 2 and same on unit 3. It's a hodgepodge of bedrooms. Our proposal is to make that lower level a separate unit. There's also a basement on this building, so a sub-basement. That would remain and become just unit storage that's accessed from the rear of the building. The lower level would now become unit 1. That would be a 1,220 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a full rear walkout. That would have full windows for light and air, floor to sill at 30 inches, 2 means of egress, and it has 11, the ceiling height varies from 8'3" to 11 feet throughout that unit. We go up to the first floor that houses the main entrance of the building. That would be unit 2. That would now become, right now that's a 6-bedroom unit. That would be changed to a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condominium unit with a rear deck, and that's 1,050 square feet. Going up to the second floor, that would house unit 3. Again, that's another 6-bedroom. That would become an 1,170 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo with a rear deck. Then we go to the third floor, which would house unit 4, and that would now become a 1,250 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath with a rear deck. That would have a staircase that would go up to the roof for a new proposed roof deck that's 199 square foot, and that would be exclusive to unit 4. Just to go over the violations that were mentioned, additional lot area per dwelling unit, 1,000 would be required. We're slightly under at 916 square feet. FAR, this is pre-existing 1.0, we're at 3.17 because the basement is already occupied as it stands now. Height in feet, 35 is what's allowable. We're proposing 39. And again, we're not making the building any higher, but we are putting the roof deck on top. The rear yard, pre-existing, 30 feet is required. We're at 14, although we do have a full pathway out the back that can be entered for that bottom unit.
And is there going to be a handicap unit here?
There's not a handicap unit, ma'am. Madam Chair, we are required.
Okay, and since this I'm assuming is a gut rehab, what are you doing for LEED certification or anything like that?
Again, we're light and air for windows. We're putting in foam insulation. We're actually adding a green space patio out in the rear of the property as well. We're removing the enclosed porches that were used as living space and making that now outdoor space as well, and then all high energy efficiency appliances.
Okay, thank you. How are the plans, Mr. Robinson?
Plans are good. No question, the rear unit or the lower unit is definitely above grade at the rear because there is a sub-basement. There are additional windows off the street too, so I don't have any concerns with the basement unit. And the roof deck is direct access from the rear deck of the upper unit on the outside, so there's no hatch or any access issue in terms of that question. So no questions from me on the proposal.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here?
Quick, I couldn't tell from the plans. Mr. Drago, where are the utilities? Are they in the basement or sub-basement?
Sub-basement.
Okay, so that's unchanged?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is anybody here to speak either in support or in opposition of this proposal?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Natalia Benitez with the Mayor's Office, Neighborhood Services. Our office would like to defer to the board's judgment at this time. However, the project was supported by the civic and abutters, and they thought it was a good design and a good addition to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Secretary, I have one letter of opposition.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I have no raised hands at the moment.
They're just opposed to the basement unit.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is Yamina from the office, Boston City Council, Lydia Edwards. The council would like to go on record in support of this proposal.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve. I don't think it needs BPDA design review, though.
I think so either. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Calling the next two cases, calling POA 126-4910, 64 Haines Street. There is a companion case with building code POA 126-4913, 64 Haines Street. This is to erect a 3-unit, 4-story residential dwelling with a roof deck and parking for 3 vehicles. Violations Article 2017-5, it's in the East Boston iPod. Article 53, Section 57.2, traffic visibility across the corner. Article 53, Section 9, the lot area is insufficient. Article 53, Section 9, the additional lot area is insufficient. Article 53, Section 9, the floor area ratio is excessive. Article 53, Section 9, the building has excessive in stories. Article 53, Section 9, the building height is excessive in feet. Article 53, Section 9, the usable open space is insufficient. Article 53, Section 9, the front yard is insufficient. Article 53, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. And Article 53, the rear yard is insufficient. This is the building code, I'm sorry. This is the building code for 64 Haynes, the 9th edition 780 CMR 1011 stairways, 1011.12.2 roof access, where a stairway is provided to a roof. Access to that roof shall be provided through a penthouse complying with section 1510.2. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston, on behalf of the petitioner, Francesco Kirigati. Also with me is Eric Zackerson, who's the project architect. I'm not sure, Madam Chair, what the pleasure of the board is to address the building code first or separately.
Mr. Lins, you are very echoey, so I don't know what's going on. In the meantime, Ms. Ambassador, can you make sure that everybody else is muted?
Absolutely.
Councillor, can you please address the building code first and then tell us why you were deferred?
Sure. I lowered my volume, so I don't know if that has helped, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Great. So with respect to the deferral, I believe we took an administrative deferral the last time we were before the board, based upon the board composition. As for the building code relief, Madam Chair, we are proposing a roof deck that would be accessed by hatch, and consistent with the board's preference, if roof decks are proposed, to not access same by a head house. Because this building would be at 4 stories, we would require the building code access through that stairwell and head house. So therefore, we're respectfully requesting relief under the building code for that particular matter.
May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the building code relief. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With respect to the proposal itself, we could jump back to the slide deck. I can discuss quickly what the proposal is. Madam Chair, this property is located, this is a vacant parcel located in the Jeffers Point section of East Boston at the corner of Haynes and Marginal Street. It does have a corner lot condition with 50 feet of frontage along Haynes, with about 32 feet of frontage along Marginal. This isn't a 3F 2000 district. We are proposing a conforming use, so the 3F that we are proposing is allowed under Article 53. Included with that, we are also proposing 3 parking spaces. When we originally had proposed this project, we had gone back and forth between whether or not to include parking or whether or not to have a higher building to allow the parking as we currently are proposing. The feedback that we did hear from the community was that parking, although height was a concern, parking was a paramount concern. So we had adapted the building in a way to try to address both height concerns as well as the parking issue. We do exceed the height slightly. The height limit is 35 feet for the district. However, we are proposing a height of 38.5 feet. As I said, this would be a proposed 3-unit building. Mr. Kirigati is building this building as his primary residence. There will be 2 additional units generally available for his family.
So
he does have family in Europe who does travel and visit regularly to the United States.
Councillor, can you tell us, can we stop for a minute and tell us how the parking is proposed to work?
I'm sorry, the parking, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yep, so we are showing here the floor plan. On the left side, we show 3 full parking spaces that would be accessed from Haynes Street. Marginal Street tends to be a bit more traveled, and therefore adapting a curb cut for the Marginal Street side would seem to present a little bit more of a challenge. There is already presently a curb cut on Haynes Street. There is parking that occurs on the site presently for patrons who are in the neighborhood. However, that is not necessarily required parking for any particular property. It is a separately assessed parcel and was held as a separate parcel for as far back as we can see in the title.
And what's the size of that curb cut?
So the curb cut that presently exists, we can jump back to the plans. I believe it's actually a oversized curb cut that will be reduced down to accommodate the parking that we're proposing.
Okay, and then give us a quick summary: bedrooms, square foot, and the roof deck.
Yep. So the lower units, which are would be located on the second level, are roughly studio-sized units, just over 520 square feet each. The upper unit, which would be the owner's unit, is 2,340 square feet, and it would be bi-level. So you would access it from the third level and to internal stairwell up to the fourth level, and then the roof deck.
And the size of that roof deck?
I believe we have that on the plan. Eric, if you could just give us a quick take on the square footage for that roof deck.
Eric, me? It's the whole roof.
Yeah, so
it looks like 800 plus square feet.
Eric Zachison on here?
I think he's muted.
Okay.
I believe through design review that front, any portion of that railing that is fronting on the streetway would have to be pulled back to a 7-foot setback.
And are you required to provide an accessible unit?
I can let Mr. Zackerson address that.
Yes, we will be required to provide a Group 1 accessible unit. Because we have an elevator, actually all 3 of the units will be Group 1 accessible.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Robinson?
Plans are good. I think, from a height and scale, it seems to fit in. It is obviously it's a corner condition it's tough to sort of, I think, deal with in terms of the parking access. But no real questions other than those 2 items, I think.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak either in support or in opposition of this proposal?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Natalia Benitez with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Our office would like to defer to the board's judgment at this time. However, concerns from a butters and the civic about height, design, and parking, and it was a tight vote at the civic association. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I couldn't hear what the position of the Mayor's Office was.
Discretion of the board.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, Secretary, here we do have letters of support and opposition.
Okay, and Madam Chair, I do have a raised hand. Jay Woodstock, can you give your name and address for the record, please?
Hi, my name is Jay Woodstock. I live at 116 Marginal Street, and I'm a direct abutter. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Board. I oppose this project. This is a 3F zone. The building is far too big for the lot, and there are no hardships for the required variances. Thank you.
Thank you.
No additional raised hands at the moment.
Okay.
There's a caller, I apologize, 781-592. Were you looking to give testimony here? I think we're all set. I apologize.
Madam Chair, I do believe I did have abutters who were speaking in support. I'm not sure if they're able to be noticed.
Well, if anybody's here on this project, please raise your hands immediately. Okay, given that information, may I have a motion, please?
I will make a motion to approve with BPA design review. I think seeing if there's any way to ease the corner, and I think also ensuring that the roof deck is set back in as required. No other provisos.
I'll second that motion, Ligris.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 125-6914, 437 Frankfurt Street. This is a 3-unit residential dwelling with parking for 3 vehicles. The violation is Article 27T-5. This is in the East Boston I-5.
I'd like to recuse myself on this.
I'm sorry, is this Joe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I need to recuse myself as well, Libris.
Okay. Can somebody put their name and address on the record for 437 Franklin Street?
Yes, Madam Chair, it's Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston.
Okay, yes, so before you go on, there's going to be a 5-member board, and for approval, you need all 5 members in support. So it is at your discretion whether to go ahead or take an administrative deferral.
Madam Chair, I think of the 20 years I've been presenting cases, this is probably the one time I require no variances from the board, so I'm going to proceed with a 5-member board.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Thank you. Again, for the record, it's Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, on behalf of the petitioner. Madam Chair, the board may recall this matter had been before the board previously as a larger project that did require relief under Article 53 of the Boston Zoning Code. The board had denied that proposal, although the proposed use that we're proposing on the site was permitted in the corridor enhancement subdistrict. We had originally proposed a 4-unit building with a total of 5 parking spaces. We did require relief for the FAR as well as the parking based upon what we had proposed. After the board had denied that, we had gone back and reviewed this project further to determine if there was a way to bring this more into compliance. Eric Zackerson, who is our project architect, has designed this building to be completely by right with respect to the setbacks, use, parking, etc. When we originally proposed this project, our setback was a total of just over 10 feet. Our setback now to the building is actually 31 feet in the rear. We do show a rear deck, and we still are compliant with Article 53 of the code. The only requirement that is outstanding, because East Boston is under an iPod, is the iPod permit. I have communicated with Mr. Hampton from the BPDA, and the BPDA's recommendation was for approval of this, which is consistent with the board's ability to grant an iPod permit. So essentially, Madam Chair, this project is as of right, including recommended iPod approval from the BPDA. The project would involve a total of 3 units, and again, that is a conforming use. Each unit, average unit size about 800 square feet, all of them are 2-bedroom. The building lot itself is 3,000 square feet. We're proposing a building that would be a total of 3,000 square feet gross floor area, which is consistent with the 1.0 at maximum FAR. The height of our building is 34 feet, which is 1 foot less than the maximum height allowed in the district. We do propose a roof deck. There is no head house that accesses that roof deck as well. With respect to the frontage of the property, we do have 40 feet of frontage along Frankfurt Street. That is a lot condition that is not typical for that area. That does allow us to access the building at the lower level for parking under the building. You can see here in the profile view that the building, again, does not go all the way back to the rear property line. We do show that. I'm sorry.
Please tell Ms. Edwards what drawings she should look at. We should look at.
Oh, I apologize.
Looking.
Yeah, if we could scan back, I believe, to the site plan, that's probably the best one to start with. This works, yeah. So this shows us the lower parking level, Madam Chair, where parking is accessed from the left side. We do show Unit 1, which is an accessible unit at the lower level, and then we have the 3 parking spaces located to the rear. One of those spaces is compact, 2 are full size, which is consistent with Article 53. As we move up the building, we'll jump to the next slide, please.
No, I think we're good. We just need to understand that. Let me see what else. Mr. Robinson, how are the plans?
Plans are good. No questions from me. Looks like they have it taken care of. Thank you.
Excellent. Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support or in opposition of this project? Now remember, everybody who's calling in, this is a project that's as of right, and it just needs a checkoff for iPod applicability. It meets height, parking, and FAR requirements. Okay? So given that information to everybody who's on this call, please raise your hands in the event you would like to speak
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Natalia Benitez with the Mayor's Office, Neighborhood Services. Our office would like to refer to the board judgment at this time. However, this project has had an extensive community process. The abutters' concerns have been about height, density, and especially the character not matching with the rest of the street. Civic also voted in opposition, and our office has received more than a dozen letters in opposition. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is Yamina from the office, Boston City Council, Lydia Edwards. The council would like to go on record in opposition of this proposal.
Madam Chair, Secretary here, we do have letters of support and we have letters of opposition as well.
Okay. And Madam Chair, I do have a few raised hands. I'll start with Joni. You've been unmuted. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Hi, yes. My name is Joni DeMarzo, and I live at 435 Frankfurt Street as a direct abutter. My family and I are in opposition of this project due to the size and impact it will have. We live on a dead-end street. The surrounding area has 6 directly abutting single-family homes, and we understand that the iPod is to help protect the character of the neighborhood. So we're hoping that will be considered, and the dead-end street is extremely populated already, so we're concerned with density as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Joni. Okay, and then I have Joan on. Joan Brennan, can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Joan Brennan DeMazzo, and I'm also a direct abutter at 435 Frankfurt Street. My concern also is that it's dense populated dead-end street. Six single-family homes are on this street. And also my concern is climate change by removing a 100-year-old tree on that property.
Thank you. Right, Leonard, you've been unmuted. Can you state your name and address for the record?
Sure, this is Leonard Olson at 97 Lexington Street, apartment 2. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So I'm speaking as both a neighbor and a coordinator with Mutual Aid Eastie, which is a neighbor-to-neighbor support network here in East Boston, in opposition to the project, including we've been in touch with several abutters to this project who've been consistently opposed to it, and I'm standing alongside them in that opposition. It's mainly around the size and scale of this proposed project. And overall, I feel like it doesn't protect the neighborhood character as is meant under Article 53 of the East Boston Zoning Code, but rather works to dismantle it. And at that, there's no hardship around this proposal that would invoke granting an exception to the East Boston iPod.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Melanie, could you state your name and address for the record, please? Oops, sorry, Melanie, you were muted by accident. Okay, go ahead. Yep.
Hi, my name is Melanie Richelbook, and I'm an abutter at 447 Frankfurt Street, and my wife and I have been opposed, as well as the overwhelming majority of the community. There was no communication of the plans prior to the hearing in December or prior to the hearing today. One of our neighbors actually had to call to get the plans. I'm opposed for several reasons that have already been stated, but also because one of the concerns since the start has been how close it is going to be up to the abutting property to the line of the DeMarzo family, as well as the concern about the very large trees being removed and changing the property and character of our neighborhood, as well as the developer purchasing the property nearby for $1.1 million, which is well over market value, and our taxes have already been increased as a result.
Thank you. Emily?
Madam Chair, members of the board, my name is Emily Polston. I'm here on behalf of the Office of City Councilor at Large, Ruthie Louise Jean. The councilor would like to go on record in opposition. Thank you.
Any other electeds on? I have no additional raised hands, but anyone else?
Okay, just a quick response, Councilor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And with all due respect to the elected officials and others who've spoken in opposition, I just want to reiterate, there is no hardship necessary. This is by right for underlying zoning, and has the recommendation of the Boston Planning and Development Agency, which is the requisite recommendation that's necessary for this board to grant an iPod permit. That is all we're requesting from the board. We're not seeking any variances.
And Mr. Fortune, do we have that letter in the file from the BPDA?
I don't think we do, Madam Chair, but I'll double check. There's quite a few. Councilor Lentz, can you make sure, just as we do with G-Cod, that administrative letters are in the, that Mr. Fortune received that, please?
Yes, I did speak to Mr. Hampton to confirm that, and that was the recommendation.
Thank you.
Is Mr. Hampton on, Madam Chair?
I think he needed to go to another meeting or something, so.
I don't see anything in the file, but.
Okay. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve with BPA design review. While I hear the concerns of the community, I think since this project is as of right, it meets the requirements of the zoning code and its relationship and proximity to the Blue Line T station, I think it's a good project for this area.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion, Secretary.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'm sorry, is anybody opposed? Motion. I'm sorry. So Sherry's opposed.
Madam Chair, if I may, I believe the board has to make findings of fact to go against what the BPDA's recommendation is on an iPod permit. I would request those findings.
Yep. Sherry, this is a little different from the cases we usually see. And it's very much like a G-card in certain ways. And so we rely on external advice, just like we rely on Christian for G-card. And the BPDA has recommended approval. So that is the reason why we are all in support, just as an explanation, okay?
Okay.
So let's see, there was a motion, there was a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So it is approval with design review, Counselor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Calling the next case, calling VOA 1222307 70 Shawshene Road. This is a 5-unit dwelling with 6 parking spaces. The violations, Article 27T-5. This is in the East Boston iPod. Article 53, Section 8, a multifamily dwelling use is forbidden. Article 53, Section 56, off-street parking is insufficient. Article 53, Section 9, lot width is insufficient. Article 53, Section 9, lot frontage is insufficient. Article 53, Section 9, the flood area ratio is excessive. Article 53, Section 9, the building height is excessive in stories. Article 53, Section 9, the front yard is insufficient. And Article 53, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. You can add those for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston, on behalf of the petitioner, Trujillo Development. Madam Chair, I believe we deferred this previously as a result of a board makeup and administrative deferral since the last time we were before the board. We previously deferred that to go back and make some adjustments to the project.
Okay,
This is
let's hold on for a minute. Does anybody on the board need to recuse themselves before Councilor proceeds? No, everybody's good? Okay, let's go ahead.
Thank you. It's probably a good place to stop, Madam Ambassador. If we maybe go back one slide, this at least lets me begin the discussion. We can just show that site plan in context. Perfect. Okay, so Madam Chair, this is located in the Orient Heights section of East Boston. It is an oversized lot at almost 8,000 square feet, located on Shawshene Road, which is a private way. As you can see from our updated site plan, we are dedicating half this lot to open space. We will preserve and maintain that as part of the condominium association. And we've offered that to be available as additional backyard space for our abutting neighbors on both Barnes Ave and Saratoga Street. We are proposing a 5-unit building with a total of 6 parking spaces. We've reduced the height of our building down from 4 stories to 3, and that was in direct response to comments that we heard from the neighborhood. If we can jump to the next slide, please, that'll show the current updated rendering. What we're showing here is the corner condition of Saratoga Street and Shawshene Road, which is the portion of the private way. The building that you do see towards the left side of the screen is actually a pre-existing 2-unit dwelling, which sits a bit higher because the elevation of Shawshene, where we're proposing our building, is somewhat lower than the existing elevation of the current building. Our building will actually not be higher than what exists presently at Saratoga Street. We would access our site through a garage that would enter into the rear for the 6 parking spaces that we're proposing. The 5 units, average in size, were actually 4 of those units would be 2-bedroom. One would be one bedroom. The one bedroom is 750 square feet, and the larger units are 870 to 890 square feet each. We do require relief, but as I mentioned, this lot is unusual in the sense that it is much larger than most of the lots around it. Rather than building out a good portion of this lot with permissible setbacks, as I said, we've dedicated a good portion of this lot to usable open space to allow for a buffer between those rear properties that were shown on the earlier map.
So what is the zoning district for this property?
It is, it's actually just about transitional. It's 2F4000 located directly next to the EDA. So directly across the street from it is an economic development area.
Okay. And tell us about so the height is 4 stories. What is it in feet?
Actually, we've lowered the height, Madam Chair, to 3 stories.
3 stories. What is it in feet?
32 feet.
32. Okay. And then tell us, for some reason, parking insufficiency is red flagged here. Tell us what's going on that.
Sure, we are proposing a total of 6 spaces. Under Article 53, however, the number of spaces calculation would come out to 8 for the number of units that we're proposing. I would point out that this lot is less than a block away from the entrance to the MBTA Orient Heights T Station parking lot, so it is in close proximity to public transit. I understand from the BTD that there are recommendations for maximum parking. This is intended as condo, so therefore we are proposing more than 1-to-1 per unit. There's 1 additional space that would be available, whether it was for additional visitor parking or parking for another unit owner. But we are providing adequate parking for this site.
And let me just see, your accessible unit is unit 1 then?
That is correct. We designed it to ensure that we do have accessibility.
And any roof deck on this?
I believe, if you can jump to the next plan, Eric, where were we at with the roof deck on this?
Mrs. Zackerson, can you respond to that?
Yeah, I think, Madam Chair, we agreed in the last round with the butters that we would remove the roof deck in order to address further height concerns. We only show rear decks off the back, and again, preserve all that open space to the rear.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Robinson?
The plans are good. It does show a 3-story version, no roof decks as I can tell. And no, I don't have any other questions. It's just a very...
Madam Chair, Mr. D'Amico did speak on this. I don't know if he's still on the call.
Madam Chair lady, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead, Bob.
Okay. Number one, I think that the applicant would have to get the approval of the abutter, which I believe is the Von Corey Law Office, since it's a private way. They do have access and egress allowed to them. So I think that the proposal should include the approval of the abutter across the street on the other side of Shawsheen Road. And secondly, although it's not a BTD responsibility, the parking will be right on the borderline of 4 houses on Saratoga Street and Barnes Avenue. And when I speak with Mira every once in a while, this is going to require screening and buffering. Now, I know there's green space behind it, but the parking spaces in the rear are not going to have any screening and buffering on the sides where the parking is included. And the reason why I comment on that, this may narrow the amount of area where parking will be required. And thirdly, I should say, the plans that I'm looking at show a proposed driveway that go on the side of the house all the way down to Saratoga Street, yet no curb cut is shown. So I think that the plans are a little bit inaccurate with regards to what the project is being proposed.
Yeah, Bob, I think you might be looking at an older set of plans, but thank you.
Madam Chair, if I can respond on the private way issue briefly.
Okay, I'm sorry, any other questions from the board?
Yeah. Mr. Lynch, can you just walk me through it? So it looked like there was a garage door, and there's a garage door on the other side that takes you out of the building?
So, through the chair, Mr. Ruggiero, yeah, if we can jump back, I'm sorry, go back to that floor plan a bit. The ground level plan. So we do have a driveway, garage, lack of a better term. You wouldn't park vehicles in here, but it'd be a driveway through the building that accesses out to the rear and gets you the parking spaces that are to the rear of the building. With respect to Mr. D'Amico's comments, absolutely we anticipate screening and buffering. And with respect to the private way, from a title standpoint, we have equal rights in the private way as the abutters do across the way. However, I did have a conversation with them directly, and they have no objection to this project.
So just so I have some clarity. I mean, we could handle this in design review anyways, but so there'd be a garage door on the front. So you, in theory, like if you just saw the front of the building, you wouldn't even know that the cars are coming out on the other side. It would look like a normal traditional garage on the front.
Correct. That's correct, Mr. Ruggiero.
I just didn't want like a hole in the building.
No.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak either in support or in opposition of this proposal?
Yes, yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ms. Holly Benitez with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Our office would like to defer to the board's judgment at this time. Our office actually supported this project last time, and we have received 29 letters of support and 1 in opposition. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Secretary here, we do have letters of support and opposition.
Madam Chair, I do have a few raised hands. Are there any other elected officials that need to speak? Okay, hearing none, I'll start. Alberta, sent a request to unmute you. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
I'm a resident of East Boston, and I think it's a great idea. It's going to clean that area and improve these spots.
Miss Alberta, can you put your name and address on the record, please?
Sure. Alberta Spezzaferri, 791 Saratoga Street.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Christine, you've been unmuted. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Christine Tringali, 119 Barnes Ave, Unit 1.
Okay, go ahead.
I wanted to speak in opposition of this. There was a neighborhood meeting back in October with Attorney Linz, and he at that time on email promised to provide updated plans, which he has to this date not done. At that meeting, he made comments to me regarding the fact that the building was not behind my property, but rather the fence and parking were, so that it really didn't impact me, which is not accurate. It impacts my property, whether it's building or parking. The other unit owners in my building are concerned because of the narrowness of the parking area and the damage that may be done to our fence when they have difficulty negotiating, turning around and getting in and out, especially during snowstorms, which we recently experienced. There's talk of the HOA enforcing the green space and within their regulations, but who is to say that those won't get changed once the HOA is enforced and no longer keep that green space? And who's going to require the HOA to enforce the green space and keep track of what's going on, that there's not, people cutting through from Saratoga Street through the green space into Barnes Ave and making it a cut through or a shortcut to the T station. And that our properties won't.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm sure you had a question.
No, can we hear from another speaker, please?
Yep. Enza, go ahead. You've been unmuted. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Enza DeFumari. I own 1120 Saratoga Street, and plus 1118 is my family, and at 1122. I'm in favor. My family's in favor because we needed to clean up and be a better place.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, and Joni, go ahead. Can you send the request to unmute yourself? Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Hi, sorry, I think my hand's just raised from earlier. I will make sure that I take it down. Thank you.
Okay, and Peter, are you looking to give testimony here?
Yes, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Hey, my name is Peter Carr. I'm an attorney in Boston at 1-2 International Place in Boston. I represent the Cardillo family who are direct abutters at 127 Barnes Avenue. There's 2 letters I submitted on file in opposition when this was previously presented. And not to restate what's in those letters, but this project is shoehorned between these 2 streets and directly abuts my client's property. I'd have a substantial impact on his property, their property that's there. It's literally in the middle of these groups of houses that have been there for many, many years. It violates, in particular, the fact that this is a 2-family residential neighborhood to now have a 3-family condominium project shoehorned in the middle. Ms. Cardillo is also on the line and is raised to opposition. It's just not an appropriate project and ask that the board deny this in full at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ambassador, can you mute everybody, please? There's a lot of static, it appears.
Yep. Right.
Okay, Counselor, quick response, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. So with respect to Ms. Tringali's comments, we did file the updated plans through the Office of Neighborhood Services. I know there's been some transition there, so I do apologize if she didn't receive that. With respect to her comments, we do not, our building is not behind her building, it's the open space. And we did agree that we would provide whatever fencing the neighbors requested with respect to the parking area for appropriate screening and buffering. So while I do understand her concerns, I think we were able to address all of those specifically. With respect to counsel's comments, I know my client has been in direct contact with his client. There's been a lot of discussion about changes that we were asked to make by Mr. Cardillo specifically. We made them.
Counselor, I think you addressed the parking, you addressed the screening and buffering, you addressed the right-of-way. Okay, I think you've addressed every question that was raised that needed a response. Given that, may I have a motion, please?
I'm going to make a motion to approve with BPDA design review for screening and buffering in the rear, particularly where the parking spaces are, and also some street landscape there. I think this is an opportunity to really sprucing up a street that doesn't even look like a street right now. So I want to put that in there.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set with those provisos. Good luck.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Calling the next case, calling VOA 126-7433, 219 to 225 Main Street. This is a new roof deck. Violations Article 62, Section 25, roof structure restrictions. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Philip Sema from Balance Architects representing this project. I'm at 1 Thompson Square in Charlestown.
So how many units in this building, and tell us about how this proposed roof deck is going to be accessed?
Sure. There are 3 commercial units on the ground floor and 4 residential units spread over 2 floors. So the design we're proposing is a roof deck on the left. This will be private for my client. Is accessed through spiral stairs off of an existing deck in the rear. Very similar to what you see in the existing roof deck, just in the bottom of the axon there. It's about 680 square feet. It has cable railings with some outlets for electricity and a small storage bin towards the rear.
So let me ask you, so this will be a building with 2 roof decks on it?
Correct. Yes.
And did this project come to this Board of Appeal for approval of that first roof deck?
Yes, and that was approved probably about 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, and who has access to that roof deck?
So the units are such that split in left and right side. So the unit on the right side is using that existing roof deck, and we're proposing for my client to use a separate stairs on the left side for their roof deck.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Robinson?
Plans are good, no questions. I think the scope is drawn fine.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak either in support or in opposition of this proposal?
Yeah, good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Caitlin Stapleton with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Our office held an abutters meeting for this proposal on November 29th, where there was no concern shown by abutters. I have received one letter of support and one letter of non-opposition. So at this time, we'd like to defer to the board. Thank you.
Good afternoon,
Sorry, go ahead.
So good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is Yamina from the office. Boston City Council Lydia Edwards. The council would like to go on record in support of this proposal.
Madam Chair, Secretary, we do have a couple of letters of support.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have no raised hands at the moment.
May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Calling the last case of the day. Calling BOA 125-2950, 22 High Street. This is raise the existing structure and erect a new residential building with 15 units and 15 parking spaces. The violation is Article 55, Section 65.41, off-street parking is insufficient. Article 65, Section 2, to conformity with an existing building alignment. Article 65, Section 8, a multifamily use is forbidden. Article 65, Section 9, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 65, Section 9, the building height is excessive in stories. Article 65, Section 9, the building height is excessive in feet. And Article 65, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board.
Chair.
Mr. Drago.
I'll need to recuse myself.
Same.
I'm sorry. So, Councilor, we will have a 5-member board, and you would need all members to be in support of this. You have two options. One is to proceed, or the second is to request an administrative deferral for a date when we have a fully active board.
We're going to go forward, Madam Chair, respectfully.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Attorney Jeff Drago with Drago and Toscano of the business address of 11 Beacon Street, here on behalf of the owner-developer, Ricky Bellevue from Volnay Capital, and I also have Chris Prudhomme, who is the architect from Zephyr on the project. As was mentioned, and as can be seen in this picture, the proposal is to raise the existing structure and to erect a 3.5-story condominium building. And this would include 15 residential condominium units with 15 parking spaces inside the building. This would also include 2 affordable on-site units. This particular lot size is one of the larger in the area at 17,948 square feet. The gross square footage of the building is 22,747 square feet. This was approved by the BPDA through an Article 80 process and at the board in December of 2021. Our open space on this site is 10,900 square feet.
So, Councilor, can you tell us, one, why you were deferred before? And can you talk about building alignment? And tell us what the zoning district is, and talk about the yard insufficiency and the height.
Okay, Madam Chair, yes. So the district is a 3F 5,000. Although there are different mixes of properties in the area from multifamily residential to 2 to 1 to 3. The reason why we were deferred, one, we met with Meeting House Hill, which is the Civic Association, and in meeting with the group, we reduced unit count, changed the design of the building as well. So we significantly reduced unit count over a period of a year. So went from 27 units down to 15 that you see now, but we're able to still keep the affordable inside the building. To go through just the violations that you had mentioned. So the height for this particular area is a 3-story at 35 feet is what's allowable. We are at 46 feet at 3.5 stories, although we built the building or designed the building on the High Street side to be at 3 stories, and then as you go in the back, the peaks rise up, but there's a significant grade change in the slope of the topography of the lot. We also, as you can see, have a great deal of open space, which was important to our neighbors in the rear and in the front. So we've got open space that's usable both in the front and in the back of the building.
So tell us about the yards, because I just want to make sure that neighbors aren't feeling crowded by this proposal.
Sure. Yes, so just to go over our rear yard. So we've got 51 feet 6 inches, that's farthest point, and that sort of varies as you go back, but that's our farthest point, and our lowest point, it's 10 feet away, but it's mostly near the 51 feet 6 inches. On our side yard, it varies as well, but we are at 11 feet 11 inches, and then our lowest point, 3 feet 9 inches. And so, but our neighbor to the right is set to the 11 feet 11 inches, and then to our left, we would be closest to a driveway on the left-hand side at around close to 3 feet 9 inches.
And so parking is underground?
Correct. Yes.
And tell us about the roof deck.
So there is a common roof deck on top, and that has 2 means of egress and an elevator to the building as well. Units 12 and 14 also have private access roof decks as well. So total, there's a common roof deck and then 2 exclusive roof decks on the roof. Just to go over the layout of the building, just to go over that, our lower level has a 10-foot driveway and a 5-foot walking path for pedestrian access. And that would lead into a door that goes into the bike room and into the garage. There are 15 parking spaces inside, dedicated bike room, trash room, and mechanical room all on the lower level. The first through the 3rd floor all house 5 units. And then as we went over, the top floor has the roof decks, and 2 units have an extra bedroom space up there as well.
Tell us about the bedroom breakdown and the square footage.
Yes, so they're larger units, so it's 8 2-bedroom units at 1,150 square feet on average, and 7 3-bedroom units at 1,475 square feet on average, for a total of 15. 2 of those will be affordable, and we worked out one of them will have a 50% AMI and the other one a 60% AMI.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Robinson?
The plans are good. As you can see by the geometry, it's quite a difficult site. I'm very familiar with it. It does drop off quite a bit, as you can see in the topography and the site plan. So it's complicated, but I don't necessarily have any questions, knowing this went through the BPDA design review process, Article 80. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
I'm just wondering about the roof. You got common roof deck and 2 private roof decks. You got an elevator. What's the access to the 3 different roof decks?
So the exclusive you're talking about, Mr. Ehrlich? Or
You said there's 1 common and 2 exclusive.
Correct.
So I'm asking for what's the access to each of them?
The exclusive have separate access. The common have the elevator and a staircase.
And the exclusive ones have, what is it? Head house, what is it?
Oh, the bedroom, because there's 2 rooms up there, literally is connected. So there's bump ups for bedroom space up there.
Mr. Ehrlich, they're not technically sitting on top of the roof. They're kind of embedded in the slopes of the roof, so you won't actually see them, I don't think, from outside of the.
Okay.
They're sort of almost like internal. They're exterior, but internal terrace-y things like.
Understood. And the common roof deck is accessed by a stairwell and elevator.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Robinson, I like that technical term.
Yeah, don't intimidate us.
Okay, I think we covered all questions. Is anybody here to speak either in support or in opposition of this proposal?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Denise DeSantos here from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time we would like to defer to the board. The applicant has met with the community for a long time. They've worked with the neighborhood. They do have the civic support. Some abutters were just concerned around parking and density, but they have met with the Civic Association a few times and have the civic support letter.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Secretary, we have a couple of letters of support, and one from Frank Baker. Council.
Madam Chair, I have no raised hands at the moment.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve BPDA design review.
I'll second, Eric.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good luck, and you're all set.
Thank you very much.
The meeting is now adjourned, and we will see everybody, what is it, in 2 weeks? Thank you so much.